There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist, by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men acted like Laura Loomer, our problems would be fixed in about 5 minutes.
Chained herself to
She
Twitter.
chained herself.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of Loomer Unleashed. I'm your host, Laura Loomer. We are live right now on Rumble and X, so please be sure that you head on over to rumble.com/Laura Loomer, rumble.com/Laura Loomer. Download the Rumble app on your phone, enable notifications so that you never miss an episode whenever I go live. And also be sure that you're following me on X at Laura Loomer and on X at Loomer Unleashed, where you can follow all of our daily news updates and reports, our Loomered videos, our confrontations with members of Congress on a daily basis up on the Hill, and all of our exciting election coverage. And if you follow Loomer Unleashed and you follow me and you're a viewer of the show, then you know that one of the races that I've been talking about a lot, right? And my team and I have been talking about a lot over the last year and a half, especially, like knowing and being able to predict like which candidates are going to run or, which movements. Of course, both political parties are being fragmented now into various political movements. But if you watch my show, then you know that we've been talking about the rise of these Islamic jihadist candidates and the Islamic takeover of not just the Democrat Party, but also the Islamic-communist takeover of the United States of America. This is something that I've been talking about for years, really. But we're watching it unfold in real time. And look, every single time you have an election night these days and one of these Islamic candidates is on the ballot, it's very triggering for me because to great expense to myself, for the last, 12 years or so, I've been speaking out aggressively about all of the Islamic candidates and the Islamic movements that are infiltrating our government, infiltrating our political institutions, just infiltrating our society in general. Every single aspect of our society has been completely infiltrated by these people. And, people have just completely brushed it off over the last, 12 years or so. I was banned on all social media platforms. I was silenced. I was debanked. I was completely shut down and removed from polite society for reporting the truth about the Islamification of America, warning people that if we don't get a hold of this now, we are going to turn into the UK. And sadly, right, even now, even under a Trump administration, even under a Republican majority in the House and the Senate, we are watching our country get taken over by Muslims. We are watching it happen right before our eyes. And the Republicans, right, they're just so hopeless. They'll say things like, oh, well, why is it that so many people are gravitating towards socialism? Why is it that so many people are gravitating towards these DSA candidates? And wow, we need to really educate Americans about why socialism is not good, why socialism isn't a great economic policy. Well, the problem is that, go back to the time of Zoran Mamdani, go back to AOC, go back to Ilhan Omar, go back to Rashida Tlaib. We've had this trend line now for quite a long time, like almost 10 years now, where we've seen these Islamic candidates or squad candidates, right? First, they called themselves Justice Democrats. Then it was the Squad. And then we, of course, came up with the name Hamas Caucus. And now they're just openly running as DSA candidates. But we always heard the GOP talk about how, wow, socialism, it's the big S word, boogeyman. And you have to ask yourself, this messaging has been deployed by the GOP for nearly 10 years now. And what has it done? Is AOC out of office with all this boogeyman socialism talk? No. This is what they did in 2016 with Bernie Sanders as well. He's a socialist. He's a socialist. Well, clearly socialists are getting elected, right? People are not really afraid of the word socialism. Zoran Mamdani campaigned as an open socialist. He wasn't even trying to hide the fact that he was a socialist. And people are still voting for these openly socialist candidates. Now, if I was a Republican strategist working on one of these really large campaigns, or I was working in the White House political team, I would think to myself, all right, we've been deploying the same strategy now for the last 10 years, talking about socialism, right? It's a big boogeyman, the big bad S word, socialism. But all these socialists keep getting elected to office. They keep on defeating Democrat incumbents, and they keep on winning in these landslide races. Maybe, just maybe, right? Socialism isn't the buzzword. Socialism isn't what's actually going to make people in our country wake up and be jolted into action to vote against the radical left and the candidates that the Democrats are putting forward. Maybe instead of talking about socialism, what the GOP should actually focus on is the fact that all of these candidates are either Islamic, or they are jihadists, or they are jihadist adjacent and openly supportive of Islamic terrorist movements and Islamic jihad. We saw this with Zoran Mamdani, and everybody was too afraid in the GOP to go there with the fact that he is a jihadist Muslim. And then even today, right? What are people saying? Oh, he's a socialist, or oh, he's a communist. Like, and even yesterday, right? Like during one of the White House press briefings or the Oval Office press pool meetings with the president, they asked him about the race in Michigan, and they said, oh, well, what do you think about the race between Abdul El Sayed and Haley Stevens? And the results are coming in right now. It's not really much to, be sitting on the edge of your seat about. We already know that this Islamic jihadist, Abdul El Sayed, is going to win. I mean, he's pretty much already the winner of the election tonight. So we called it. We already knew this was going to be the case. So it's not exactly like this is a nail biter. Right? It's a replica of the Zoran Mamdani race in New York City. But President Trump was asked about this. I think we even have the clip. And he said something along the lines of, oh, it's a communist versus a socialist. It's a communist versus a socialist. The race between Abdul El Sayed and Haley Stevens. You can take a listen to what President Trump said. Here, just go ahead and play the clip.
You have a communist versus a socialist. That's the way I look at it. You have a communist versus a socialist. It looks like the communist is leading. We're talking about for the Democrat primary.
What I don't understand is why the GOP talks about this as it pertains to communism and socialism, why they talk about it without mentioning the Islamic element. Right? This is a red-green alliance, as I've highlighted numerous times on my show. So you got the red, the communism, or if you want to call it socialism, I think that the appropriate term is communist. These people are openly communist. But what they're missing in the GOP is the green, the Islam, the clearly and very overtly pro-Islamic jihad element of the Democrat Party's unholy alliance, right, with these communists and open support for terrorist organizations, Hamas. Loomer Unleashed DC correspondent Charles Downs actually attended one of the protests that was orchestrated in DC last week after the funeral of Lindsey Graham to protest, Lindsey Graham, but also to protest President Zelensky of Ukraine and Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel meeting with Donald Trump at the White House. And while they were protesting, they were waving the Palestinian flag and they were openly chanting in Arabic. And then, not to mention, they were also waving flags of Hamas fighters wearing Hamas bandanas. And so, we need to have a conversation about what people are being gravitated towards. Are people voting for socialism, or do we have an Islamic jihad problem in this country because people have been radicalized into supporting Islamic terrorism, largely because if you look at the pockets of, the voting populations in these areas like Minnesota or New York City or Michigan, where these Islamic communist candidates are getting elected, these are Islamic immigrants. A lot of the candidates themselves are Islamic immigrants. Look at Ilhan Omar, for example. Look at Zohran Mamdani. Abdul El Sayed is the son of Islamic immigrants. He is Egyptian, but you get the point. And the fact of the matter is that, we probably wouldn't be seeing these Islamic communist candidates get elected and this wave of, support for Islamic jihad in the United States if we actually had a Department of Homeland Security that was focused on, actually removing people for their support of Islamic terrorist activities or their open embrace of Islamic jihad, or if we just completely halted Islamic immigration altogether, like President Trump promised he would do during his first term when he said that we were going to have a Muslim ban. But now, right, what we've seen in the GOP is not just a tolerance for Islam, but really an effort by a lot of high-level GOP officials to completely placate Islam. And look, you can see this in the footage that we recorded last week at this protest in Washington, D.C., just outside the White House in Lafayette Square, near the park, right across the street from the White House. You see people there openly supporting Islamic terrorism, waving a flag, wearing a flag that features and portrays a Hamas terrorist in a Hamas bandana, okay? Clearly, right across the street from the White House, there's obviously police, there's obviously Secret Service, right? DHS is probably completely aware of the facts that these protests are happening. So where in this video that I'm going to show for you, do you see the DHS paddy wagons? Where do you see the ICE cars or the ICE trucks trying to, detain people, pick people up, ask them their immigration status? You just don't see it. And there seems to be this malaise. And it's not just within the Democrat Party that has just been completely taken over by Islamic jihadists. But there's a malaise, and it's almost worse than a malaise, right? Because, people get into funks all the time. But there's this weird malaise, but also this it's like a sense that everybody's okay with it. Like, it's very dystopian where you look around and you're like, okay, there's terrorists walking around the White House. They're wearing Hamas bandanas. You have the Qataris giving, the president a plane to use. And then all of a sudden the Iranians try to target that plane. And it's like, oh, was this all planned? Are the Qataris in on it? They sent a delegation to the Ayatollah's funeral, right? Like, you see all of these instances of Islamic terrorists like deliberately working against our national security, whether they're trying to kill the president, they're trying to sabotage his plane, they're sending their operatives outside the White House to protest wearing terrorist insignia and terrorist emblems. They are harassing American citizens in major metropolitan cities with their pro-Iran and pro-Gaza protests. And you have to ask yourself, is this just a malaise, or is the GOP completely in on it? Because now, all of a sudden, right, very similar to what we saw with Zohran Mamdani, the GOP is now like, wow, Abdul El Sayed, right? He's a jihadist. We can't have this guy. Wow, did you know that he supports terrorist organizations? He's tied to the Muslim Brotherhood. And you have to ask, you just have to sit back and you have to look at the last, 12, 15 months, and you look and you can't help but ask, where were you guys? Where were you guys 12, 15 months ago? How come they wait to the very last minute to start talking about how problematic these candidates are, when it probably would be a lot easier for somebody like a Mike Rogers in Michigan, right? Who's going to be the Republican nominee for Senate there, endorsed by Trump. It'd be a lot easier for Mike Rogers to defeat somebody like a Haley Stevens than it's going to be for him to defeat somebody like an Abdul El Sayed, because of the demographics, right? The Islamic immigration into places like Michigan. And again, I say this again, look at all the places where this takeover is happening. You do not see mass deportations taking place. You do not see mass raids on these Islamic centers where these Islamic communist candidates are getting elected. So again, it goes back to what I said. It's not just a malaise where, sometimes people get in a funk and it takes a while to kind of clear the air. And then, well, all of a sudden people are energized again and they're back at it and you have traction. No, it's pretty obvious at this point in time that a lot of GOP leadership is completely okay with our country being taken over by Muslims. They see it every single day. It's quite literally in their face. You cannot say that you're not aware of what Zoran Mamdani is doing, what Abdul El Sayed is doing, what Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are doing, and what all of these Islamic organizations and, people in the media that support these organizations and the Palestinian movement. You cannot say that this is organic, right? This is not just a funk. This is not just something that's going to pass. There is a deliberate effort by some people in the GOP. And you see this now with the defection of a lot of so-called, older, MAGA personalities. And I say it in air quotes because I don't really think these people were ever genuinely MAGA. People like Thomas Massie and Marjorie Trader Greene and Brian Glenn and Tucker Carlson, right? All of a sudden saying that they're going to start their own party. And you don't see them criticizing the president or criticizing the Trump administration for not cracking down on Islam. No, instead, these people have actually decided to unite with the Muslims in order to undermine the conservative movement going into the November elections because they want these Islamic candidates to win. They want Republican candidates to lose their elections because they either are completely sold out and bought off by these Islamic causes and these Islamic entities, or they're trying to accelerate things to a position that gets so bad that, people automatically just turn to a more radical solution. Regardless of what is happening, it's clear that the GOP needs to change their messaging because giving people an economic lesson about socialism when, let's be honest, right? Your average person, I don't think really has the intellectual capacity in this country. I'm not trying to sound like an elitist, but I don't really think the average person in this country has the intellectual capacity to have a full-blown conversation or debate about socialism. I think that people have very limited mental bandwidth. We have a civics crisis in our country, and I don't really see, the masses coming together to have a conversation or a debate about the warmth of collectivism. Now, I think that what resonates with people more are the images of what life is like in a Sharia adherent society, what life is like under Islamic law, what life is like, if you live in one of these Muslim majority countries and you do speak out about Islam. I think images of Islamic terrorist attacks, images of America after 9/11, images that show these Islamic candidates openly supporting enemies of America. I think that messaging is a lot more compelling than trying to convince people of varying, socioeconomic backgrounds that socialism is bad, right? I want to see what your thoughts are on this. We'll go to the chat. You can put your comments and your questions in the chat, but I just don't really think that this messaging works for them. They've been doing this since AOC and Bernie Sanders, and has it really done anything? No. I don't think people really give a shit about socialism. I don't. I think that the average American cares more about their country being turned into an Islamic shithole than they care about socialism. Because it seems like there are some conservatives that are okay with socialism. It does. I mean, it seems like there are some conservatives in this country who either, I don't know, maybe they're paid to say this, or maybe they're, maybe they just don't really have much of an understanding of economics. I don't know what it is, but you see lately that people like Tucker and Marjorie Trader Greene, and I've seen people like Nick Fuentes say this too, they don't really seem to care about the Democrats pushing socialist economic policies, right? You've even seen, some elected GOP officials have sympathy, right? Have sympathy for these socialist economic policies. And so I don't think that saying, oh, it's a race between a communist and a socialist is really going to get people going. I think that what the GOP needs to talk about is Oh, wow, there's a jihadist on the ballot. What do you mean a jihadist? Oh, well, this person, has advocated for female genital mutilation. They refuse to condemn Sharia law. They are on the record supporting and endorsing the Muslim Brotherhood, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. I think things like that freak people out a lot more than the idea that, we're going to have socialism in America. Socialism is definitely something to be worried about. But if you were to ask me, like, what's more motivating or what would I care about more? If somebody was a socialist or if somebody was a jihadist, I would say that them being a jihadist is a lot more concerning than them being a socialist or being sympathetic to socialist policies. Let's see what people think about this in the chat. That's just my perspective. I just think the GOP is not really getting anywhere with their current messaging. And, clearly they must see this. They must see that their messaging is not working. It hasn't worked in the last 10 years when you look at all of these candidates who continue to get elected. So what's the game plan here? Either they're completely oblivious or they're in on it. And they understand that this messaging isn't working. And they understand that people would be a lot more motivated if they were to talk about Islamic jihad, but they're deliberately not mentioning it. So again, people want to say, oh, it's a malaise, like something's happened in our country. People are in a funk. They're going to snap out of it. No, I don't think people are going to snap out of it. I think that there's a lot of people in our country, especially in the GOP, that are getting really rich, like really, really, really rich, making business deals with Muslims and working with Qatar, working with Turkey, just getting in bed with Muslims. Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, Qatar, whatever it may be. And I think a lot of these people care more about making money than they do about stopping the United States from becoming a Muslim country. So it's deliberate. It's deliberate. You cannot say that this isn't deliberate at this point in time. Lord Vader, 1952, said lots of the establishment were involved in bringing these Muslims to the country behind our backs. Yeah, that is true. Marnie said people need to be shocked. They need to see the brutality of Islam. Yeah, it's just, I think that by now, and I always see people online, how come nobody's talking about the Islamic invasion of America? Oh, honey, we've been talking about it. I've been talking about this my entire life. I am banned everywhere. I literally cannot even order food delivery because I have talked about this extensively. I am so tired of talking and ranting and raving about the Islamic takeover of my country. I have really, honestly, paid such a heavy price for talking about this. So when people say, how come nobody's talking about this? Oh, we've been talking about it. People like me, people like Amy Meck, Tom Trento, Katie Hopkins, John Guandolo. I mean, there are so many people that have been talking about this Islamic takeover. And yeah, I just, this idea or this claim by so many people that nobody's talking about it, it's just completely asinine. It's completely inaccurate. Yes, our lawmakers may not be talking about it, but some of us have been warning about this. I mean, there's a reason why I'm not allowed to post on YouTube, right? Because they strike my account. I got banned everywhere. I got banned on Uber. I got banned on Lyft. I got banned on Uber Eats. I'm still banned on Facebook because I was talking about this. What's clear to me after, 12 years of doing this type of work is that you are not allowed to talk about this. This is the one issue you're not allowed to talk about. So when people say, oh, you can't talk about Jews, they're so protected. Jews are the most protected people in America. Oh, if you talk about Israel, if you talk about the Israel lobby, you're going to be canceled. No, what you're not allowed to talk about in this country and what people avoid with, a 10-foot pole and you can't get anybody to talk about it. You can't even get the president of the United States to talk about it. Honestly, I mean, we're being totally real here. Okay. Is the Islamic takeover of our country. That is what you're not allowed to talk about, or else you will be viciously canceled. You will be completely silenced. You will be smeared. And that is what people are really afraid to talk about. Show me who you're afraid to speak about, and I'll show you who controls you. Right. It's not the Jews. I mean, all I see is people talking about Jews and Israel and AIPAC 24/7. What I don't see them talking about is the Islamic lobby, the Qatari lobby, the Muslim candidates. They don't ever say, oh, this Muslim candidate, this jihadist candidate, this Islamic terror sympathizing candidate. It's always like, oh, Abdul El Sayed is a socialist. Did you know that Abdul El Sayed is a socialist? He's a socialist. He's a socialist. Oh, he's a socialist. Turn on the news tonight when he wins. I mean, I think he's already won, right? We're going to bring Charles Downs on momentarily, DC correspondent, and we're going to break down some of these election results as they're coming in, even though we already know we're going to get a Muslim. And he's probably going to win the general election too, because I highly doubt that Mike Rogers is going to talk about these issues. I just don't see Mike Rogers being aggressive, right? I just don't. Maybe he's a nice guy. I don't know, right? I don't know. I obviously would prefer Mike Rogers win than Abdul El Sayed. But as of yet, I've yet to see him really call out the Islamic takeover of Michigan. Nobody's talking about the great replacement of Michigan and how, most of these people that are coming out to vote or are mobilizing themselves for Abdul El Sayed are Muslim immigrants. You don't really see Mark Wayne Muslim or disastrous, incompetent, retarded DHS secretary out there organizing deportation raids or just deportation efforts in general with these Islamic jihadists who are now flooding Michigan the same way they flooded Minnesota. So, we're going to just keep on bitching about socialism. Nothing's going to happen, right? This is what they did with Mamdani. Mamdani won in the general. And now we have a Muslim running the largest city in our country, New York City, right? Same thing's going to happen in Michigan. And the Republicans are just going to keep on talking about socialism. They're just going to bore everybody to death with socialism. They're going to have people come on Fox in the morning in the panels and talk about why socialism sucks, right? Let's get that turning point sign out. Socialism sucks. Socialism sucks. Okay, yeah. So Turning Point has been saying that since 2015 and 16. I'm not criticizing Turning Point. I'm just explaining to you this has been a talking point for a very long time, right? Socialism sucks. Socialism is bad. But people keep voting for socialism. People keep voting for socialism, and they're not really being moved when you talk about socialist candidates. So you need a new strategy. You need to educate people about why these candidates are so defective and so destructive. It's not because they're socialists. It's not. It has nothing to do with the fact that they are socialists. What it has to do with is the fact that they are anti-American and they believe in a Sharia supremacist ideology that wants to implement an Islamic caliphate in the United States of America. That is really at the root of it all, the fundamental reason why these candidates are as destructive and as transformative as they are, is because they're not operating from a political standpoint of pro-American or pro-democracy or pro-constitutional republic thinking. They are hell-bent on conquest because that's what Islam teaches. That's what Islam's all about. It's about making your enemy submit, making all non-Muslims submit, conquering them. So Michigan is going to be conquered. Michigan's really already been conquered. If you've been to Michigan, and I went to Michigan and did an entire documentary about Abdul El Sayed almost 10 years ago now, right? When I went to Michigan when he was running for governor of Michigan, and now he's running for Senate. It's on my YouTube channel. And the reason I bring this up is because you just need to see how long people have been at this. You see all these videos now, people going to Dearborn. Oh my God, have you been to Dearborn, Michigan? Can you believe it? All these women walking around the grocery store in hijabs and burqas. It's like, okay, you see this, right? It says 7 years ago, expose, Abdul El Sayed, Marxist jihad in Michigan. I've been on it, right? Talking about the communist jihadist movement in Michigan. 7 years later, we're still having this conversation. 7 years ago, right, I exposed all of Abdul El Sayed's ties to terrorist organizations, the fact that he's a communist, the fact that he is using this fusion, this red-green alliance, the fusion between the Islamic left and the communist left to uproot Michigan and ultimately uproot our country when he gets to the United States Senate. But people don't listen. And this is just further evidence. Look, 8 years ago, Michigan gubernatorial candidate Abdul El Sayed confronted over his refusal to condemn Sharia law. 8 years ago on my account. Scroll down. Ex-Muslim woman Abdul El Sayed is practicing taqiyya. Ex-Muslim woman, don't vote for Abdul Sayed for Michigan. I mean, there are so many videos on my YouTube channel from 8 years ago. So it's not like they don't know that this guy has a record of supporting Islamic terrorism. This is out in the open. We're now seeing their Oppo files drop because the Republicans are now going to have to pretend like they're so outraged over the fact that another Muslim communist is getting elected. But, they didn't really do anything to stop it. So they just want to roll out these very tired and old talking points about socialism. Well, yeah, look, we have a lot of socialists in our country, unfortunately. We have a lot of socialists that are now in office, right? People like Bernie Sanders and AOC. But at the end of the day, are people really afraid of that? Maybe they don't like socialism. Maybe they, are fearful of what socialism could do to their country. But I think that people are a lot more terrified of Islamic terrorists who have no tolerance for non-Muslims living in their communities. And the fact that we have a candidate who's on the record pledging his support to these Islamic terrorist organizations. So we're going to bring Charles in. Let's go to the chat really quick, see what people are saying, and then we'll start covering all of these elections tonight. But nobody wants to talk about it. It's deliberate. They are being silent, not because they don't know about it. Everybody knows, right? I just showed you my videos from 8 years ago. Everybody knew what this guy was about, right? You haven't seen anybody once yet take a hit on him for being a Muslim. Not at all. They just talk about him being a socialist. 69 Bird said, the Islamists are laughing at us while they use our freedom and religion to undermine and conquer us. Yeah, absolutely. Scroll up. Let's see. Islamic Takeover is a great title. That's what it is. That's why they come here. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, when you're watching what happens tonight and you're watching the continuation of these Islamic communist candidates get elected as more primary races take place over, the next couple of weeks across our country, don't sit there and say to yourself, oh my God, why is the GOP not doing anything to address this? Oh my God. I think it's pretty obvious to everybody right now that they're more than happy with this. They're 100% aware of what's happening in our country. They're 100% aware. But some people in our party, right, our elected officials in Congress are going to have to make a decision. Do they care more about making money with Muslims and appeasing Muslims in their community to try to win these people over as voters, or do they care about the truth? Do they care about having a country? Because you can't appease these people and pander to them to get their votes, and then at the same time be like, oh, I'm worried about my country. Why is nobody talking about this Islamic takeover? It just doesn't work that way. You got to go all in, and you have to condemn these people, and you have to highlight the fact that they are absolute scoundrels. These people are parasites who want to implement a way of thinking and a way of life that is just completely incompatible with Western civilization. But enough of that ranting and raving. Everybody knows how I feel about these people, how I feel about the Islamic takeover of America. But we're going to go through real numbers tonight to show you that the GOP strategy of talking about how socialism is bad isn't working. They need to start talking about Islam and actually catering their messaging to an anti-Islam audience. And the election results in Michigan tonight prove that people do not react anymore to this buzzword of socialism. They just don't. Maybe 20 years ago it worked, but we have been doing this now endlessly for 10 years and it does not work. So joining me now to discuss these election results live on air as they come in is Loomer Unleashed DC correspondent Charles Downs. Charles, thanks so much for joining me tonight. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me, Laura. It's very interesting what's happening in Michigan right now in terms of the vote coming in. So listen to this. So Wayne County, Michigan, which is the home of Dearborn, has about 10,000 votes in. So not very much, right? But Oakland County, Michigan, which borders Dearborn, is where Detroit is, has over 200,000 votes in. So what are the people in Dearborn? What's taking them so long to count, Laura? What could they be doing? What's holding it up? In all seriousness, I think the Islamic communists have gotten just as good at cheating as the Democrats, because only 10,000 votes in from Dearborn? Abdul is, I guess, ground zero. Yet the county right above Dearborn, which
Yeah.
is
This
home to
goes back
Detroit,
to what I was just
200,000
talking
votes
about.
in. What's going on?
This goes back to what I'm talking about how we hear the president talk about election integrity and how we need to secure our elections. One of the biggest ways, though, that we would secure our elections in this country, or you would think, logically speaking, we could secure our elections, Charles, is by mass deporting the criminal illegal aliens. You brought up a really great point about Dearborn. Well, one of the ways that Democrats are able to, stuff ballots, and they're able to cheat, and they're able to, procure illegal votes, and really stuff their numbers in these heated elections, especially in swing states. I mean, not so much in the primaries. We see this more in the general election, right? Because we already knew Abdul El Sayed was going to win tonight. I don't really think this was like a close nail biter race between Haley Stevens and Abdul El Sayed. I think everybody knew. But there is a large immigrant population, right, in the Dearborn, Michigan area. And we know that, Abdul caters to these people. We know that Rashida Tlaib caters to these people. We know that the Democrat Party establishment caters to these people. And we know that, look at people like Lisa McClain, for example, who's the GOP conference chair from Michigan. She is the GOP conference chair, and she is a Michigan congresswoman. You walk into her office and you think that you are literally in the Middle East, because it's just, her office in Washington, D.C. is literally covered in Islamic regalia and Islamic garb and like Middle Eastern decorations. And so, this is because
staff too.
Yeah, and staffers who pretend to be Christian when they're actually Muslim, going to Qatar, having parties at the Qatari embassy, and you quickly realize that election integrity, right, is just a buzzword for the Republican Party. They don't actually really care about making our elections safer again, because if they did, every single person in the GOP, every single person who holds elected office on our side of the aisle, Charles, would be calling for Mark-Wayne Muslim, as I call him, to resign. And it ties into exactly why I call him Mark-Wayne Muslim. People say, "Oh, why do you call him Mark-Wayne Muslim?" Precisely for this reason, because, the biggest problem right now in our country, the reason why we're seeing a rise of these Islamic jihadist candidates in these metropolitan areas is because that's where all of the Islamic immigrants have been situated. In all of these places like New York City, Minneapolis, right? Dearborn, or just Michigan in general, right? The whole state has really been conquered by these people. They refuse to mass deport Muslims because so many people in the GOP are doing business deals with Muslims, and they don't want to offend them. And they think that if they, implement a Muslim ban, or maybe they actually start cracking down on Islamic centers throughout our country that are, hosting these hate preachers, these imams who openly call for the destruction of the West, the death of Americans. They're siding with the Ayatollah. We have this stuff on video. This is not a conspiracy theory. People like myself, people like Amy Meck, Memory, right? There are so many organizations and so many hardworking people out there who have been documenting this for years. For years, we have been showing people these videos. But if they're not willing to actually have a competent DHS secretary, right, to mass deport people, then why are we pretending like we're surprised about these election results that come in? Of course, they're having illegal alien Muslims cast ballots for these candidates. Why do you think somebody like Zohran Mamdani was able to get as many votes as he did? Because they're mobilizing these immigrant first-time voters, right? These candidates who maybe these voters, right? These people who maybe they've never voted before. That's what they said about Zohran Mamdani, is that most of the people who voted for him had never voted before. And then they also said that he mobilized 1 million Muslims to get out and vote, right? So if they've never voted before and they're mobilizing so many people who are Islamic, right, in their background, what would be really interesting to see is the immigration status of these voters. But we're never going to get that. We're never going to get that.
Right now in Wayne County, are they legal? And going off what you said about these like Muslim enclaves, if y'all remember the Virginia election with the maps that ultimately got ruled unconstitutional, Fairfax County, which is home to a large, very large Muslim population, Manassas Mosque. It's this mosque in Fairfax County, very large. We actually had video of one of their like imams going down to the White House and memorializing the Ayatollah. How messed up is that? Going back to what I was speaking about, when they did the ballot initiative in Virginia last spring to try to rig the congressional districts, Fairfax County's vote totals didn't come in until the very end of the night. Conveniently, when No and the Republicans were beating the Democrats, then all of a sudden, Fairfax County and the high Muslim population precincts of Fairfax County started pouring in, and magically the issue passed, and thank goodness the court struck it down as unconstitutional on a rigged election. But they did it in Virginia, and I think it's very creepy how, if you look at the results right now, look at Wayne County, Michigan, like 10,000 total votes in, but Oakland County, Michigan, which borders Wayne County, Michigan, and is home to Detroit, they can get their vote totals in. They have over 200,000 votes out right now, you can see. So what's taking Wayne County so long? It's kind of just like what Fairfax County did in Virginia, which, like I said, home to tons of Muslims.
And it's the same thing that happened. It's the same thing that happened in Virginia, as you pointed out, where you have all these candidates and they said, oh, they're socialists. Oh, they're communist. And yet, what did they not want to talk about? They didn't want to talk about the fact that they were Muslim. Like the people that got elected, right? I think even the lieutenant governor, the new lieutenant governor, is a jihadist Muslim in Virginia.
Yes, and she worked to get the initiative on the ballot. Like everyone blamed Abigail, but
and then like everybody wants to say like, oh, Abigail Spanberger, she's a socialist. No, this is not the problem. Socialism is not the problem. It's Islam. It's Islam. It's the fact that these people have decided to unite and completely fuse their political movement with the Islamic jihadist cause. And so all of these races across our country where people just cannot believe like how radical these candidates are. And wow, why are all these Muslims getting elected? Well, look at the pockets, right? Look at the pockets, the population pockets in these areas in Virginia, as you just said. Very, very large Islamic immigrant population. A lot of the Afghan refugees or migrants that Joe Biden decided to resettle in our country in the aftermath of the disastrous withdrawal got dumped in Virginia, right? Same thing happened in Ohio. People want to know how Sherrod Brown might be able to reclaim his Senate seat after he was soundly defeated in 2024, right? When immigration was at the top of the ballot and people realized the disastrous effects, right? Because they were able to grant TPS to a lot of these Islamic invaders and these Haitian invaders. In the last few, I would say like in the last few weeks, in the last few months of the Biden regime, and we haven't had the mass deportations to remove these people yet from our country, which is why, just like Minnesota, right, Ohio, certain towns in Ohio have the second largest population of Somalis. Same thing in Maine. People are like, oh my God, how does a communist like Graham Plattner manage to, win a nomination? How does somebody like Graham Plattner become a viable candidate? Well, look at the demographics of Maine. Look at where Barack Hussein Obama decided to resettle so many of these Muslim immigrants when he decided to import all of these Islamic refugees into America. Yeah. A lot of people don't know this. They were imported into Maine. So look at the most radical candidates on the ballots. All of these like DSA champions, they want to call themselves. They want to call themselves Democratic Socialists of America. They don't necessarily have to be Muslim themselves. Most of these people are Muslim themselves, but they are clearly supported by the Muslim cause. They are supported by Muslim money. Even the woke right candidates, it's the same exact thing, right? Where they're getting their support. and they're having their fundraisers. Like, to look at James
Like
Fishback,
Massey.
look at, or Thomas Massey's another example of this, right? When you look at their fundraising numbers, or you look at the pockets where they are able to get votes, they're areas with large Islamic populations. You see this with James Fishback, where Fishback has nearly no support. And yet the only places where he's able to actually have fundraisers to raise money for his campaign, even though he's barely raised anything for his campaign. And you look at the FEC records, they're all Muslims. They're Pakistanis, and they're Muslims that live in Tampa, Florida, which is also becoming an Islamic enclave. So whether it's woke right candidates or their DSA so-called socialist candidates, people need to wake up and realize that this is an Islamic movement. This is funded by Islamic money. This is being driven by an Islamic ideology. And it's not a coincidence that the streamer who the Democrats have decided to have campaign with them across the entire country, and they've decided to make the new face of the Democrat Party, is Hasan Piker, who is a Muslim communist streamer. No, not a socialist. Not a socialist. We're not going to talk about socialism anymore, okay? I don't want to hear about socialism anymore. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody wants to hear socialism anymore. You've been talking about this since Bernie Sanders, and it has no impact whatsoever. Okay, the Republicans need to realize this is a tired, old talking point. Hasan Piker is a Muslim. Okay, talking about him being a socialist isn't going to have an impact on the way people perceive politics and the way they perceive the changing demographics of their country.
Oh, I agree. And going back on what you were saying about how not all these candidates running with Hasan Piker are Muslim, but they're Muslim. Example.
They're Muslim adjacent. If they're not Muslim, they're Muslim adjacent.
Right? There's this big black guy, big fat black guy. He's about to beat Sheree Tander in Michigan. And Hasan Piker walks this guy around like he's his dog. Like, we have some of these clips up on the Loomer Unleashed account. This dude just does whatever Hasan tells him to do. It's so pathetic. But yeah, he's not a Muslim, but he basically is. He's their tool. And it's pretty remarkable that Sheree Tander, who filed impeachment articles against Trump, we literally have video of him saying Daraliza Chevalier, the girl who wants to disparage the American flag, she's fine. He's fine with that, but he's no longer radical enough for Hasan Piker's party because I guess he didn't go for the
And that's
Muslim.
what's so crazy about this too. Sri Thanadar, who is, I mean, I don't know if he's like a Muslim or what he is, because, you know, he comes from India, and I just spent some time in India, and they've got 240 million Muslims there, very large Muslim population. Sri Thanadar, who openly supports all of the Islamic candidates. I don't know if he is a Hindu or if he identifies as a Muslim or if he's an atheist. All I know is he is one of the most radical candidates in office. Okay. He is an animal abuser. He hates Trump. He was leading articles of impeachment against the president. He is a representative in Michigan as well. And as you pointed out, he is not radical enough. He's not radical enough for Hasan Piker, even though he is more than happy to support all of these Islamic candidates. And even when we asked him about the Islamic communism, he refused to condemn it. We have a video in which you confronted Sri Thanadar and you asked him about this Islamic communist takeover. And he said that we were intolerant. He actually had the audacity to say that we were racist, even though Islam is not a race. And so people need to understand that it doesn't even if you are, so-called socialist and you're not a Muslim, or you're just like sympathetic to the Islamic cause, these candidates are just going to, use the Islamic adjacent candidates until they're able to replace those candidates with actual full-blown Muslim candidates themselves. Right. We saw this in the New York primaries as well. We saw this with people like Dan Goldman. We saw this with
Oh yeah, how's Dan Goldman not radical enough?
What's that guy's name? Starts with an E, like Espa.
Espen, yeah, the guy who lost.
The guy in New York, right? The other guy who thought he was he's a Hispanic guy. What's his name?
He lost to a girl who hates the American flag.
Right. He's the one that lost to the Islamic communist that wants to wipe her hands on the flag. My point is that, this guy is a Hispanic. He was a Hispanic Democrat. He was pressured about whether or not he was going to support Zoran Mamdani when Zoran Mamdani was running. And he decided to go all in on Zoran Mamdani. And how does Zoran Mamdani repay him? Well, he endorses the Islamic communist candidate who runs against him, right? So simply bowing down to these people is not enough, which is why these Democrat candidates, like these so-called moderate Democrats, there's no such thing as a moderate Democrat. It's an oxymoron. They just look like absolute pussies, right? They look like absolute cowards pandering to these people. Dan Goldman, right? A Jew thinking that he's going to get out safe. What do? They run candidates against, they run a candidate against a DSA candidate against Dan Goldman. And they say, well, Dan Goldman, right? He's not radical enough. No, Dan Goldman is Jewish. That's what the problem is, right? Dan Goldman is Jewish and even though his family has funded, right, his very wealthy family has funded and supported the Palestinian movements and the Palestinian riots. And you can trace the funding to a lot of these Palestinian protests directly back to the trust funds and the finances as we've exposed in Goldman's extended family, especially his aunt and her financial support for these radical left and Islamic movements. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough because if you're Jewish and you are a non-Muslim, you are going to be replaced, right? They may use you in order to get ahead, but they are plotting, they are scheming, and they are recruiting candidates, and they are not going to be happy until every single so-called moderate Democrat is primaried by either an Islamic communist themselves or a communist who is Islamic adjacent. And everybody needs to wake up and understand this trend line. They need to wake up and they need to understand this because, from what I'm seeing right now, it's looking like Abdul El Sayed is going to take this nomination. Do we have any more reporting coming in, Charles?
Like I said, it's just very interesting. I just actually looked at my computer. Wayne County has like 12,000 votes in total. And like I've been saying, Oakland County, which borders Wayne County, has like 200,000.
Right.
What's going on, Wayne County? What's going on, Dearborn? I really wonder, are these people
so we
who
have,
are counting the ballots in Dearborn right now illegal?
There's 28, they have 28% of the vote counted right now. And right now the vote is 51% to 45.4%. Haley Stevens is trailing Abdul El Sayed, right? So we still have a lot of votes to come in. But I just don't think that people really understand just the demographics, the replacement of your typical, non-Muslim white American voter, just like how the majority, what our country used to be, right? Our majority demographic, historically speaking,
I think Dearborn
right?
is like
perfect. How far gone we are as a nation, and how, I guess, how much we have been replaced, how much we have been infiltrated, where over 25% of our country is now foreign born. I don't think most people understand that, right? Where the population of America, it's under 400 million. And if you do the math and you calculate the number of illegal aliens in our country, we knew that by the time Biden left office, the number of illegals in our country was 65 million. Okay, so you have 65 million illegals, right? People can write this down. And then you have Marco Rubio, who gets confirmed as Secretary of State. And this was a few months ago, right? Marco Rubio comes out and he goes, well, we probably have about 50 million people in our country who are on visas, who are in violation of their visas, and they qualify for deportation. Those aren't illegal aliens. Those are people who, he says are violating the terms of their visa by engaging in probably, anti-American behavior. A lot of this was pro-Islamic jihad behavior. And do the math on that. Do the math. Do the math. It's 120 million foreigners, okay? You got over 120 million foreigners in our country who could qualify for deportation. So over 25%, right? I'd say close to probably like 30 to 35% of the American population is foreign born and qualifies for deportation. And then we wonder why our country is being taken over by Islamic communists. This should not be happening with a Republican in the White House and a Republican-controlled House and Senate.
I think too, Dearborn is like a perfect representation of how we basically been replaced. Like, think about it, 50 to 60 years ago, Dearborn, majority white community, you could work at a factory all day, make really nice money, your wife could stay at home, and then all of a sudden, thanks to the globalists, the factories closed. Then when the factories closed, everyone moved away from Dearborn, and we had an empty, rusted out town. So what did the Democrats do? They took a bunch of Muslims and they dropped them in a literal shithole to, I guess, make it shittier. And the story of Dearborn is just, like I said, the perfect representation of what you were just talking about. It used to be a great American town, building great American infrastructure. The globalists ruined it, and now they filled it with un-Americans who are now holding their election results to ensure their duel wins the primary. And if I were the Trump DOJ, I would send people and observers to Dearborn on election night in November right away, because there's definitely going to be some games going on there. Because if you think the Muslims are going to not allow their candidate and do whatever they have to do to get Abdul to win, they're going to do whatever they have to do. And they're doing it tonight. Like I said, just look at the numbers. Why aren't they turning them in? It's pretty obvious.
We have a lot of clips. I mean, look, for people who... I don't know how they cannot know who Abdul El Sayed is, or, you know, unless you live under a rock or you live in a cave. I mean, he's going to be the Mamdani of Michigan. He wants to abolish ICE. He wants to abolish the police. He's campaigning with Hasan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. He's been endorsed by Ayanna Pressley, Summer Lee, Pramila Jayapal. I mean, it's just... If we do not do something as a nation about removing these people, right? And I call them enemy combatants. I think that it's time for our elected officials to start treating these Muslims living in America as enemy combatants. Because if we don't actually start to remove these people with military force from our country, and they keep on multiplying and they keep on getting elected to office, and they keep on using our laws against us to try to impose Sharia law and to force Islam, not as a religion, but as a, you know, political ideology, the way that Islam is practiced in every other Muslim country in the world. We're really the only country in the world that really recognizes this outside of a Muslim majority country as like an equal religion. I mean, I guess, you know, the UK does as well, but how's that really working out for them, right? They recognized it as a equal religion when it's really practiced as a political ideology. And now the entire UK has been taken over. Half the real estate in London is owned by Muslims. You have a Muslim mayor. You have a Muslim Homeland Secretary. The number one most popular name in the UK is Muhammad. This is what we are on track to become here in the United States. And just think about it, right? If we lose the House and we lose the Senate this November, and people like Abdul El Sayed are in the Senate and they're able to defeat Mike Rogers, and they are effective in abolishing ICE, okay, we're not going to have any more Border Patrol. We're not going to have any more DHS. We're not going to have any more TSA. We're not going to have any more security at the airport, right? We are going to be experiencing the scenes that we are seeing coming out of Spain right now after they had their invasion of 50,000 Muslims. People are saying, oh my God, that's America if we lose the elections. No, that's America right now. Oh, we already had that times 500. Do the math, right? 50,000, right? Times 500. We had 25 million illegal aliens come into our country. About 3 million of those illegal aliens who came into our country are Muslims. So they're just waiting in our communities right now. They haven't been deported. They are mobilizing themselves. They are feeling emboldened. They feel brazen. People like Mahmoud Khalil hasn't been deported yet, right? They are fundraising. They are strategizing. They are participating in our politics. People like Abdul El Sayed, Hasan Piker, Mamdani, right? All aligning with these insurgents, throwing it in our face, throwing it in our face. And so when people say, oh my God, that's going to be America if the Democrats win. No, that's already America. Okay. They are just waiting for the Democrats to take over so that they can finally implement these policies. And then you're going to see real fast how these enemy combatants have been strategizing and using their mosques, which Muslims view as their own little mini military command centers, to stockpile weapons so that they can carry out attacks against U.S. citizens and non-Muslims when the Muslims finally have real hard power, right? Like not soft power, but hard power in our Congress to change our laws and to fundamentally transform our national security apparatus by defunding DHS and defunding our law enforcement agencies that keep us safe and are responsible for investigating terrorism in the homeland.
Oh, and jailing their opposition could be, block them. We shared a really important clip today of Hasan Piker. He was speaking with Ilhan Omar and that communist named Hong in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And he says, as the communist named Hong and Ilhan not in agreement, it's time to arrest Trump administration officials. That was Hassan's exact quote, and everyone clapped. And he didn't leave it at Trump. We have
that clip. We can go ahead and we can get that clip up on the screen.
And then Hasan just started dancing. Like, yeah, I'm so happy. We're going to go arrest everyone. And yeah, it's really important. Ilhan Omar, a member of Congress, and the potential communist governor of Wisconsin is standing right next to him, nodding in agreement to go arrest Trump and his supporters. Yeah. They want to jail you.
Let's get that clip loaded up on the screen here, because I think that it is pretty important, because it does show you the mentality of these people. They don't just want to implement Islamic law in America. They want to jail everybody who opposes them, and they want to jail the political opposition, and they want to jail, the leader of the MAGA movement, Donald Trump, but not just President Trump. They want to jail his supporters. They want to create Islamophobia laws. They want to create hate crime laws. And, they want to disguise this as, a get Trump movement. But this just begins with Trump, right? This doesn't end with Donald Trump. They sell it to the average Democrat voter as a get Trump movement, but really it's a get everybody who isn't a Muslim movement. And people are going to realize very quickly that, the anti-Semitism that we're seeing in our country right now, the anti-evangelical rhetoric, this is not isolated. This is not a movement that is just going to come and pass. This is something that is ideological. It is fundamental to the thinking and the teaching that every Muslim has, that every Muslim receives inside their mosque. And it is basically the baseline ideology for every single Islamic communist and every single Muslim in America, every single Muslim in the world, the 2 billion Muslims who live on planet Earth. And so, regardless of whether you are a Trump fan or you are a Trump hater, if you are a Republican, if you are a Democrat, you need to understand that unless you actually fully convert to Islam, or you yourself take up the Islamic cause, like some of these candidates do, where they go and they campaign in the mosques and, they're saying the Shahada, and, they're going to the Ramadan dinners. What'd you say?
And then they suck up to Hasan Piker.
They suck up to Hasan Piker, or they openly bring Muslims into their campaign infrastructure. You are going to be targeted. You are going to be replaced. And their version of replacing you now is in the form of a political primary. But ultimately, once these people obtain the political power that they wish to hold, it's not going to be replacement with a ballot box, right? It's going to be replacement with a cartridge box. And they openly say it. Hasan Piker openly talks about killing his political enemies, about how, he wants to glorify people like Luigi Mangione, how he thinks Trump should be killed, how people should start using drones to attack their political opposition in America. And this is very violent rhetoric. And I don't think that the average Democrat, is inherently that violent. I think that what we're watching is we're watching the Democrat rhetoric become more violent as the Islamic influence becomes even more prevalent and overbearing, because Islam at its core is inherently violent. It's inherently supremacist, and Islam only works for the Muslim when they're able to excuse their incredibly barbaric acts of violence that subjugates everybody who they can't get to submit or convert. So let's go ahead and let's play this clip. This is Hasan Piker with Ilhan Omar and Francesca Hung, another communist candidate running for governor of Wisconsin.
Oh, and she's a failed restaurant owner too.
And bring about corruption charges for every prominent member of this administration that is engaged in corruption. Prosecute and arrest ICE agents that have also done crimes as well on the job.
Bring out the secret police.
Execute and bring about corruption charges for every prominent member of this administration that is engaged in corruption. Prosecute and arrest ICE agents that have also done crimes as well on the job.
Bring out the secret police.
They want to make it cool. They want to sell it.
Yeah.
They want to sell it. And Abdul El Sayed was asked today, he was asked on the news, why are you campaigning with Hasan Piker? Oh, well, he's got 3 million followers and I want to appeal to his people. I want to appeal to his people.
Like, he already doesn't appeal to his people. They're the same people.
They're the same people. They're the same people. They're the same people. I mean,
and then MSN and MS Now, another important clip. They were sugarcoating Abdul today, naturally. How we were talking about it. They said Abdul's just a dad who's at the farmer's market getting plums for his daughters. That was MS
Yeah,
Now's
we have that
big
clip on
video
Loomer
that
Unleashed as
Abdul
well. We have that clip on Loomer Unleashed as well.
Remarkable.
We can go ahead and we can get that clip loaded. But it's true. They want to disarm everybody, and that's what's so dangerous about this. Can we get this clip loaded, please? What's so dangerous about this is that they're trying to disarm people into thinking that these people are just, oh, they're cool, they're so innocent, they're nonviolent, and there's nothing alarming, there's nothing that poses an existential threat about their ideology. He's just a dad. He's just a dad who goes to the gym and he works out and he's buying plums and peaches for his daughter at the farmer's market. They're making everybody sit back and be sitting ducks for when these people actually do become fully militarized and they do decide to, carry out mass political violence. And you see, that they clearly have that mindset. Do we have this clip? Okay, it's on the Loomer Unleashed account, so we can get that pulled up. But it's, they want to disarm people so that they really have no way to defend themselves. Because if you educate people about the brutality of Islam and you educate people about the fact that every single mosque is technically let's get this clip up on the screen. We got to just get this clip up. It's from today. It's a newscast from today. We got to get this clip up. It's a clip of him on the news and they're talking about plums. Let's just get it up. That's the clip right there. Yeah. It's MSN. It's MSN. Yeah, it's MS Now. As Donald Trump says, the newly branded MSDNC. Let's just get it up and show people, and you can see for yourself, right? They have a blonde woman, and he's smiling, and
He's at the farmer's market.
He's going to a farmer's market. He's a Muslim at a farmer's market in Michigan. He's
Look
just
how
like
American
you.
he is.
You look how
He's a
American
nice
he
guy.
is. He just goes to the farmer's market. Let's play this clip. It's a short clip.
Did it himself, Abdul El Sayed. Take it away.
Yeah, he just bought a book for his daughters and some peaches and plums, I think. Abdul, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Look, I've been hanging around.
Oh, wow.
Such
He
a nice
just
guy.
bought a book for his daughter and some peaches and plums. Yeah. Okay.
They don't even ask about Hasan Piker, by the way. Like you
Yeah.
can watch
First
the
of all,
whole interview.
like-
They don't even ask him.
Showing this guy at a farmer's market when in reality he probably shops at the halal supermarket in Michigan. I mean, the halal supermarket. It's pretty much like they're all halal supermarkets now, right? With the way that this entire state has been completely conquered by these people. But there's nothing American about this guy. There's nothing common about this guy. There's nothing normal, and there's nothing easygoing about this guy. And my biggest worry, Charles, is that they are setting people up to think like Islam really is a religion of peace. Oh, these people really do just want to make sure that you have free healthcare and you have free childcare and you have gas in your car and food on your table. And one of these days they're going to wake up and they're going to have their own little mini October 7th in their community. They're going to wake up one day and they're going to have these armed militants trying to break into their home like the people in Spain now are dealing with, where these Muslim invaders are knocking down their doors and storming their grocery stores and, stabbing them in the neck and robbing them and trying to steal their cars and steal their bikes and rape their women and take their children. And, what's going to happen when that day comes? Who are you going to call when there's no police? Who are you going to call when there's no ICE? Who are you going to call when all of these Mohammedans decide that they're going to finally use the weapons that their mosques have been stockpiling for years on end to carry out their jihad? Their civilization jihad, once their Islamic rep is in power and they know that they're safe from accountability because, well, thanks to Abdul, there's no more police, there's no more DHS, there's nobody that's going to come and save you from an attack, right? We're going to abolish the police, we're going to abolish ICE, and who's going to protect us? Who's going to be there? Who are you going to call? Do people think about this? Like, if you watch these videos from Spain and you know that we already have 500 times the amount of these invaders living in America, do people with children, do single women who vote Democrat, do people that actually vote for these Muslims sit back and think to themselves, who am I going to call when the police get abolished and some Mohammedan comes knocking on my door?
No, and you know what's really scary is I think some of these people think some of these things Abdul says is like unconstitutional, so they like don't take it serious. But it's actually not that hard for them to pull this off. President Trump has spoken about this, about the filibuster. The Democrats take back the Senate. All they got to do is abolish the filibuster. Then when they abolish the filibuster, they can add DC and Puerto Rico as states, and that's +4. And then once they get those +4, all they got to do then is say the Supreme Court is racist. Time to pack it with some DEI justices. Then when the Supreme Court is packed, they can pass any legislation that they want, and the Supreme Court will rule it all constitutional. That's why Abdul says we need Supreme Court reform. It's time to pack the court. That's why Kamala the other day said, hey, I'm open for adding DC and Puerto Rico as states, and we need Supreme Court reform. That's why even Brother Hakeem Jeffries is open to packing the Supreme Court, because the Islamic communists are serious. They want to implement their policies, and they know the only way to implement their policies is by packing the Supreme Court and adding DC and Puerto Rico as states. And they're serious. Look at Abdul, look at Rashida, look at Ilhan, look at Summer Lee, look at Presley, look at AOC. They have all come out in favor of adding DC and Puerto Rico as states and packing the Supreme Court. And they're doing that so they can institute their policies like abolish ICE, abolish the police. And they talk about this like wealth tax, but it's not really a wealth tax. What they want to do is tax Trump supporters. And they can't do that without obviously packing the Supreme Court, because you can't target people for taxes in the United States based on your political party. But if you pack the Supreme Court with a bunch of Ketanji Brown Jacksons, like I've been saying, you can do whatever you want. At least that's the theory. And yeah, you're seeing it play out. Like, they actually are taking the steps to implement these policies. It's not just rhetoric. And I think some people think it's rhetoric, but it's really
It's
not.
not just rhetoric.
They're serious.
It's not just rhetoric. It's not. It's not rhetoric at all, actually. And I mean, you hear these people say it in their own voice. Let's play clip number 16.
Haley Stevens voted to fund and thank ICE.
In Michigan, we know a thing or two about ICE. This ICE, good. But right now, our government spends billions on an agency that operates outside of the law to terrorize our neighbors. I'm Abdul El Sayed, the only Senate candidate for abolishing ICE, and I approve this message.
Oh, it's so funny. He's showing an ice bag. Oh, it's a play on words, right? Michigan.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Outside of Minnesota, let me just say this, outside of Minnesota, Dearborn and Hamtramck, Michigan, outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Ilhan Omar represents, okay? Yeah, because I don't think she really does much. They have the highest recruitment rate of men trying to join ISIS, okay? Minneapolis and Dearborn, right? Minneapolis, Minnesota and Dearborn, Michigan go back and forth as being the number one city or number one location in the United States of America for people that try to join ISIS. And in all of these instances, for the most part, right, I'd say 95% of the time, if you were to look at the statistics from law enforcement, these are Muslim immigrants who are trying to join ISIS or join terrorist organizations. And so when Abdul El Sayed, who is a Muslim, who has, on the record, he's pledged allegiance to Mohammed Morsi, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Trump administration's designated the Muslim Brotherhood. We know that it's a terrorist organization, right? He is on the record saying that he doesn't want to say anything negative about the Ayatollah because a lot of his constituents, Hezbollah supporters, of course, were sad. They were sad. We have that tape of Abdul El Sayed. I mean, I'm sure you could pull that tape up as well. If you need a little, you need to jog your memory down memory lane. This is from February or so, I believe, when the Ayatollah was killed, and he was caught on a hidden audio in one of his campaign meetings. And I think one of his campaign staffers was like, whoa, this is a little too much for me. I'm out. And he was saying, well, there's a lot of people that just feel really sensitive about it. And we gotta, we just gotta not really talk about it because it's just really unfortunate that the Ayatollah is dead, right? It's so bad that a terrorist is dead. Anyway, most of these people are Islamic immigrants. So if you abolish ICE and then you have a Muslim senator in a state that has the highest population of Muslims living in that state out of anywhere in the United States, what's going to happen? Who's going to pick up the ISIS terrorists or the Hezbollah terrorists or the Hamas terrorists that are gathering and congregating and plotting and scheming in the state of Michigan? This is what people need to start thinking about. So he's doing this because he wants his own state to become a hub of terrorist activity and a hub of illegal activity. And he wants the insurgency to really be centered around his state, just like Zoran Mamdani wants this insurgency to be centered around New York City, because, well, you have these very militant Islamic armies or military-aged Muslim men who are very violent, who have a proclivity to supporting Islamic terrorism or openly supporting, jihadist causes. You're able to mobilize these people. Well, what's the benefit of that if you have them spread out all across the country? You have the entire country surrounded. It's not just an electoral strategy, but it's also, you could make the argument, really, and I don't think it's far-fetched, you could really make the argument that it's a wartime strategy. And that's really ultimately what Muslims believe in. They believe in jihad as their ultimate cause in life, warfare against non-Muslims. And so what I think is happening is I think that they're strategically running these charismatic jihadist Muslim candidates that they're just calling socialists, right? I think they're running these people across our country and they're placing them in like strategic areas, like in the center of the United States, in the north of the United States, in the west of the United States, in the Midwest of the United States, because I think that these people are ultimately planning their full-blown physical kinetic conquest of America. I really do. And I think that these jihadist candidates are not just there to Islamify America with their rhetoric, but I think that they're building and they're mobilizing actual physical armies of Islamic men who, you know, once they successfully defund ICE or they defund DHS or they defund TSA, they'll be able to almost like send a signal or send some kind of order to these people. And you'll have millions of Muslim men, military aged men who are able to, you know, go to war. And if these people are citizens or they're able to become citizens and they're able to get access to firearms, right? That's even worse, because then these people are going to be able to be armed, and, you know, whether or not they're legally armed or not, and they're able to get weapons from the stockpiles that, you know, these mosques, I mean, 100%. I've spoken to a lot of different intel officers, right? FBI, CIA. They 100% know that these mosques are being used to stockpile weapons, stockpiling grenades, stockpiling rifles, AR-15s, handguns, knives, you name it, explosives. I guarantee you go into any mosque in America and you were to like rip up the floor panels or go into the safe room or go into the basement or go in the attic, you're going to find a stockpile of weapons. You are going to find weapons because that's what they're doing. They are preparing for war. This is what the Quran instructs them and teaches them to do. And people will say, oh my God, she sounds like batshit insane. What she's saying sounds absolutely insane. No, this is what they do. This is exactly right, what they do. And if you don't think that, if you just think that it's organic, that they're just running these Muslim candidates and they're trying to acquire political power in the swing states all across the country, on all sides of our country, and you haven't figured out yet that this isn't just an electoral strategy and a population replacement strategy, but it's also a warfare strategy, you better wake up. You better wake up, because you're going to wake up one day and you are going to be under attack, and it's going to hit you. It's just going to completely blindside you or completely knock you over in shock and disbelief. And you are either going to survive or you are going to die, depending on whether or not you decide to take this threat seriously. I mean, Americans need to start stockpiling weapons. They need to start stockpiling ammunition. They need to start arming themselves, because we are going to have a war one way or another with these people. I'm telling you, if civil war breaks out in this country, it is going to be between the Muslim and the non-Muslim.
Also, why is Abdul wearing black every day? Y'all haven't noticed he's wearing a black V-neck around 24/7. By the way, I got my white V-neck.
It's black bloc. It's black bloc. It's black bloc.
But yeah, no, seriously.
It's black bloc. People need to look it up.
Elham too.
Go online right now and look it up. You want to know why all these Muslim candidates go around wearing black everywhere they go? It's called black bloc. Just type in black bloc. Okay. Scroll down. Keep going. Or go back to Google. Just go back. Okay, right here. AI overview. A black bloc is a protest tactic where individuals wear uniform black clothing, scarves, and face masks to conceal their identities and act collectively. It is not a formal organization or political party, but rather an ad hoc method used primarily by far left anarchist and Antifa activists during demonstrations. It's also used by ISIS and Al-Qaeda, right? So yeah, you want to know why these candidates, these Muslim candidates specifically, wear these all black uniforms? Even if they aren't wearing Islamic garb when they do it, it's to signal, right? It's literally called black bloc. You could type in black bloc ISIS. Type in black bloc ISIS. Yeah. Okay, so whether it's Antifa or whether it's any of these anarchist movements or Al-Qaeda, right? It's all black bloc. So again, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's, you start paying attention to the outfits that these people wear and the way that they signal, like when they're out campaigning with the communists and the DSA crowd, right? They are literally signaling that they are ready for war, that they are ready to become militant and mobilized in a kinetic organized manner through their style of clothing.
It's pretty remarkable.
People can brush it off all they want. I'm telling you right now. This, if you start studying this stuff extensively, like I've studying it, you will never see anything the same way ever again. You will never be able to go back to seeing things in a normie fashion. People need to wake up and realize what these people are signaling, not just in their rhetoric, but in their choice of clothing, the way they campaign, the way they talk. We can go to the chat, let's see if people notice that or not, but people should read up about black bloc, and then you'll start wondering and you'll start noticing these things. Once you start studying black bloc, you'll realize, oh, wow. Oh, she's right. Wow. All of these radical left people, they show up, they wear black everywhere they go.
Oh no, it's so scary. Like everyone needs to look at the picture of Ilhan campaigning with Abdul. She's literally wearing a black hijab, and Abdul's wearing a black V-neck. And
It's called black bloc.
V-neck right now.
It's a signal. It's a signal. It's a signal when you are ready to be militant for your cause. Okay, you can look it up. You can look it up yourself if you want to study this more. It's not a coincidence. Okay, it's not a coincidence. It's called black bloc. Some people will say, oh, well, what are you wear black. Are you signaling black bloc? No, I'm not an Islamic communist. I'm not signifying that I'm ready to go to war or that I'm going to be militarized by my choice of clothing. People should study these things. If you study the radical left and you study Islamic causes and you study the Red Green Alliance like I have, you'll understand that they incorporate black bloc into their signals and their messaging to convey their ultimate goals of violence, political violence, to achieve their end goal. So I think we have this clip. of, is this the clip of Abdul El Sayed, the recording of him saying that he didn't want to say anything bad about the Ayatollah? All right, let's go ahead and get this clip up.
I also want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all. I don't think it's worth even touching that. They're going to try and, this is what we practice, but isn't Khamenei a bad guy? Isn't it great that he's dead? My first amendment was 86 years old. He was going to be dead sometime soon anyway.
Wow. That guy's killed thousands of Americans, by the way.
Is he really a bad guy, though? He's 86 years old. He's 86 years old.
Is he really a bad guy? He just killed thousands of Americans. No big deal, right?
He's killed thousands of his own people, too. I mean, not just Americans. He's killed thousands of innocent people. But again, is he really a bad guy? He's killed people that disrespected the Islamic regime. Is he really a bad guy? People need to wake up, I'm telling you, because this is how these Islamic communists are going to govern when they obtain the political power. Okay, they are going to kill you. They're going to kill your children. They're going to kill your family members. They're going to kill anybody that doesn't want to go along with their Islamic agenda. And they are on the record defending the most authoritarian and the most barbaric terrorist leaders in the world. And that is why they're all obsessed with abolishing ICE. I mean, you have clip number 17 as well. You can go ahead and you can play clip number 17. Everywhere these Muslims go, all they do is they talk about wanting to abolish ICE. Abolish ICE, abolish the police, abolish ICE. Why do you want to abolish law enforcement so badly? If I wanted to kill somebody, I would want to abolish the police because I would want to go kill somebody and be able to get away with it. And it makes me think that the reason why these people want to abolish ICE so badly and they want to abolish the police is because they really honestly want to go on a mass killing spree and kill all the non-Muslims that they can kill and get away with it without any kind of consequence or any type of accountability whatsoever. We have this clip again. You start to think, oh, well, maybe they just don't like the tactics of people rounding these, these illegals up, or maybe they just don't like how aggressive it's been. Like, I'm so tired of people debating like the activities of ICE, right? If you're in our country illegally, who cares if you have force used against you? If you're in our country and you've been given the opportunity to leave on your own and you don't leave, then yeah, you should be physically removed. And if you resist, then you might get killed. You might get injured, right? It's not our problem. You might get injured in the process of resisting. You might get shot. That's not our problem, right? That's your problem. You've been given a chance to leave. They've spent millions of dollars of our tax dollars on these CBP commercials telling illegals that they can leave, they can fill out the apps, they can go back to where they came from, they can get a $1,000 credit if they self-deport. So again, this has nothing really to do with so-called police brutality or excessive force, as Abdul El Sayed and the Democrats talk about. They love to pretend like they care about the use of force. That's what they plan on doing to us. They plan on using excessive force against us. Start asking yourself, why would somebody be so obsessed with getting rid of law enforcement? Why?
They can commit crimes.
So they can
It's
commit violent crimes specifically. They want to commit violent crimes. They want to terrorize you. People need to start understanding why the Muslims specifically always lead their campaign with abolish ICE and abolish the police and abolish DHS. If there's no police and there's no ICE and there's no DHS, who's going to protect you from an Islamic terror attack? Nobody. Let's go ahead and play this clip. Again, another clip of Abdul El Sayed talking about abolishing ICE as a Muslim.
Many people have been critical of immigration customs enforcement, ICE, in the past months regarding their methods, their detention facilities. Both of you on some level had some questions, problems with and about ICE. If not ICE, how could we deal with the estimated millions of people in this country that didn't come through the proper channels, that we don't necessarily know who they are or where they are? I'm going to start with you, Dr. El Sayed. With 60 seconds, what do we do with that situation?
So I just want to be clear. I went to Minneapolis at the height of Project Metro Surge. I watched as our government laid siege to a city in our own country. It was awful to see. ICE is not about immigration. ICE is not about the southern border. I was on nearly the northern border. ICE is about normalizing paramilitary force on our streets. I've been clear that you can't reform ICE. You can't retrain ICE. You have to abolish ICE. Now, that's not to say that we can't secure our border. That's not even to say that we can't actually enforce our immigration policy. That is to say that we shouldn't do it at the edge of destroying our Constitution itself. ICE is a new agency. It is younger than I am. We have done this in the past in a way that respects the basic rule of law. And if we're serious about actually having a pathway in this country to a humane, thoughtful, common sense immigration system, we've got to invest in the court infrastructure that offers a pathway to citizenship for people who built a life here, that lived here peaceably, and contributed to our society. I think that's the responsibility we need to go to while keeping our southern border safe and secure.
Paramilitary force. I mean, I wish ICE was a paramilitary force, because I think we need to see some paramilitary force against these Islamic jihadists that are occupying Michigan and occupying Minnesota and occupying New York. I could only hope that ICE becomes a paramilitary force against these people.
They should probably get paramilitarized and go to the county center in Wayne County, see what's going on there. But no, also a strong point too is they always talk about packing their Supreme Court too, and that's the other thing you would need to, gut if you want to hurt somebody. You got the law enforcement, and then you got the thing that protects your constitutional rights to, not get a crime committed against you. So they're literally saying what they want to do. That's the scary part, like what you said. They're not hiding it. They're open about it. And yeah, I don't know why it's just going over people's heads. I think people think maybe it just can't happen, but oh no, it can happen by what we talked about earlier, how they can pack the court and at DC and Puerto Rico as states.
When they don't have a desire to keep America America. We just celebrated the 250th anniversary of America.
Oh, Presley said that.
And one of the things that they said at this event for Abdul El Sayed, where Ayanna Presley, they just had a big event the other night, like last night or the night before, for Abdul El Sayed, where, you know, just all these DEI candidates, Muslims, blacks, I mean, you name it, like, just, you know, all of the worst candidates the Democrats have to offer, right? These black supremacists, Black Lives Matter candidates, the Hamas caucus, the AOCs, right? All the members of the squad, the Islamic jihadists, right? The worst of the worst. Everybody that you can imagine, right, is one of the worst members of the U.S. Congress showed up to this event the other night for Abdul El Sayed, right? It was really a who's who of who's the worst member of Congress. And they're just openly saying it. It's like the new line of, we need to fundamentally transform America, like Barack Hussein Obama said. And I've always said this on my show. I said that Abdul El Sayed is, and Zohran Mamdani really as well, Mamdani more so than Abdul El Sayed, is everything that Barack Hussein Obama wanted to be but couldn't be, right? He wanted to be an openly Muslim, African-born candidate. That's what he wanted to be, right? Born in Kenya, openly Muslim, African. Nothing American about him, right? But Americans weren't really ready for that, right? They were still very hesitant several years after 9/11, right? Just 7 years after 9/11, with the introduction of Barack Hussein Obama on the campaign trail. So they had to pretend like this guy wasn't a Muslim, right? They had to pretend like he wasn't born in Africa. But you see that, you know, just not too many years later, right? Maybe a little more than a decade later, they've now been able to fundamentally transform America. You never would have thought this was possible in 2008. You never would have thought this was possible in, you know, the year after 9/11, that we would have an African-born Muslim who's been a U.S. citizen for less than 7 years, being the mayor of New York City, or, you know, an Egyptian Muslim who's pledged allegiance to the Muslim Brotherhood, potentially becoming the next U.S. senator from the state of Michigan, a swing state. But when Abdul El Sayed, long before Zohran Mamdani, right? Before Mamdani, I don't even think was a U.S. citizen at this time. When Zohran Mamdani was still an African citizen, Abdul El Sayed was running to be the governor of Michigan. And you can pull this up. There's an article, I remember it because it's like completely frozen into my mind. I think it's The Guardian that wrote it, if I'm not mistaken. I saw this like 8 years ago, but it was like, Abdul El Sayed is the next Obama. Something along those lines. I think that you could probably find that article, or if you look online. Yeah, see, look, 8 years ago, exactly. I knew it, right? I have such a photographic memory. The Guardian, the new Obama. Will Abdul El Sayed be America's first Muslim governor? I mean, they admit it. How else would he be like Obama? He's not black, right? Because he's Muslim. He's a Muslim and he wants to fundamentally transform America. Scroll down and you'll see here, right? This is from 8 years ago. 8 years ago. This article is more than 8 years old, from 2017. So, you know, it's important for people to realize that, you know, with the new openly Islamic candidates, they were not able to really go this far with Obama. Remember, Donald Trump would always call Obama a Muslim. Donald Trump would always say, you know, I'd offer $5 million for his real birth certificate. He was born in Africa. He's not really a United States citizen. They're trying to fundamentally transform the fabric of America and rewrite our history. And that's exactly what they're going to do with this new wave of Islamic communist candidates. They want these people to be like the next generation of Barack Hussein Obamas. And for those of you who, you know, can remember what Barack Hussein Obama did to our country, he really did fundamentally transform our nation. The Islamification of America was on steroids under the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama, who not only imported hundreds of thousands of Muslims into America, fundamentally transforming the demographics of our country, but also to really crack down on the way that our law enforcement agencies and our intel agencies could respond to crime and terrorism by not identifying the perpetrators as Muslims or Islamic terrorists, right? Because we started to see the political correctness get implemented into the way that our crime statistics were calculated and reported. So why do I bring this up about them saying that Abdul El Sayed 8 years ago, they said this guy was the new Obama. Okay, take a listen to what Ayanna Pressley just said at Abdul's events last night. Play clip number 22 and specifically listen to what she says. The next 250 have to look different.
We just marked our 250th anniversary here. The next 250 have to look different. Yes. And that's why we need Abdul in the Senate. That's why we need Donnie in Congress. In the Senate, we need this fighter. We need this.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. She has an
different.
expensive person.
America, founded as a Christian nation. A majority white Christian nation. Some bald black bitch is going to get up there and say, wow, we need America to look different. The next 250 years need to look different. What does that mean? Not Christian? Not white? Not American? What does it mean? What does it mean to look different after basically calling out and critiquing the celebration of 250 years of American excellence? What does it mean? It needs to look different. They're talking about replacing America as a majority white Christian nation. And if you replace Christianity in America, and look, I say this even as a Jew, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian. I'm never going to be a Christian. I respect Christians. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are Christians. I, openly fight to protect Christian values. This is a Christian nation. I'm not a Christian. But I can say, as a non-Christian living in America, America is a Christian nation. It's a majority white Christian nation. And when you say the next 250 years have to look different, that is an open attack on Christianity. That's what people need to realize. This isn't just an attack on white people. I mean, we already know that Ayanna Pressley hates white people, right? She hates whitey. It's pretty obvious.
Oh, she does.
She hates whitey. Abdul El Sayed hates whitey. He was talking very disrespectfully today on a live stream with Hasan Piker about white men. They hate whitey. So we already know that they want America to look different in the sense that they don't want it to be white. We got to import we have to brown up America. And I don't hate brown people. I don't have a problem with brown people or black people. But I mean, you can't deny the fact that the browning of America is ultimately, long-term, very negative for our country. I mean, I'm not talking about Americans who are brown and black reproducing. I'm talking about the importation of third worlders, right? Non-white third worlders who, don't really have a lot to offer to our country. That's what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about low-skilled, low IQ third worlders from Africa, from Latin America, coming into our country, browning up America. And this isn't even a racial thing, really. It's just a figure of speech, right? To describe the third world takeover of America, the browning of America. Not good for America, really, when you think about it. But that is what she's talking about when she says it needs to look different. She doesn't want whitey, no more white men. We got to get rid of whitey. And we got to make it Muslim. We got to get rid of the Christians. We got to get rid of the Jews, right? Don't like the Jews. We know they don't like the Jews because all they ever want to talk about is AIPAC, right? They want to blame everything on the Jews. You got to blame everything on the Jews, right? They don't like the Jews. They definitely don't like the Christians. So if America's not going to be white and it's not going to be Christian, I guess it's going to be brown and Muslim. And African. Like Mamdani. Right?
That's what they want, I would assume.
I mean, I would assume that's what they want. Because, you could listen to what she says again, but I just assume that means no more whitey. No more whitey. No more Christians. No more Jews. No more Americans. So
No more
I guess it
ICE,
just
too.
means a
She
bunch
doesn't
of brown
want
and
that
black
either.
Muslims and foreigners.
No, it's pretty remarkable. That
I
lady's
mean, you can
actually,
listen to
like,
the clip
worse
again.
in
Let's listen to the
person.
clip again. And then I want to get everybody's comments in the chat. But look, I don't have a problem with brown people. I don't have a problem with black people. I mean, I do have a problem with the browning of America. I do. I mean, I don't want America to be a majority brown country. I don't. America is a majority white Christian country. It's not a racist thing to say. I would like America to be America. I would like America to maintain its majority demographics, just like I want Europe to be majority white and European. I don't want European countries to be, taken over by third world Africans and Muslim Africans. I don't want it to be. It's not racist to say that. I don't want a great replacement happening in America. I don't want a great replacement happening in Europe. It's not racist. It is not racist to want your country to be culturally and ethnically homogenous. It's just not. It's about preserving your culture and it's about preserving your identity. And anybody who has a problem with that is inherently anti-American. And that is why we can't allow these people to hold office in America. We can play this clip one more time, and then I want to get people's reaction. But it really honestly sounds when she says that, the next 250 have to look different. It's not they have to be different. They have to look different. No more whitey, no more Jew, no more Christian. Play the clip.
We just marked our 250th anniversary here. The next 250 have to look different. And that's why we need Abdul in the Senate. That's why we need Donnie in Congress. In the Senate, we need this fighter. We need this.
The next 250 have to look different. That's why we need a brown Muslim in the Senate. We got to get rid of the white Christians, and we definitely don't want to have any Jews up in this bitch. You feels me?
Yes. Oh, I feels you. She's actually worse in person. Like she's insufferable. Like we questioned her like.
Yeah, it's a pattern.
She was
It's
like,
a pattern. I'm starting to notice a pattern. I'm starting to notice a pattern.
Murdering people, you can't answer. And not only can she not answer, she gives out like the worst vibes in history. Like at least some of them, like Omar and Talib say dumb things, but like they give off evil vibes. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as evil as Presley's vibe. I can't even describe that lady. Like when she walks through the hallway, it's just like a deep, it's like sulfur or something. I don't even know. Like I said, she's worse in person, if that's even possible.
I mean, look, I'll go to the chat. Look, if you have a black woman endorsing a Muslim communist at a campaign event saying that the next 250 have to look different. I mean, look, I think it's obvious what she's saying, right?
Yeah, no more white people, Jews, or what you said aloud.
No more whitey, no more Jews, no more Christians.
And blacks are only allowed, but they gotta be loyal to Hasan like Devin. If they're not loyal to Hasan, you're not allowed either. Really what you said. Don't call me racist.
One of the viewers said Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Yeah, it's crazy. You can scroll up. Let's see what everybody else is saying too. Let's see. Let's see. Scroll up. It's going too fast. Scroll down a bit. I want to read all these comments. Oh, let's see. It means Muslim shithole. Let's see what else. Worship of a pedo warlord slate. Yeah, scroll up a bit. Let's see what else people are saying. Let's see. I wanted you guys to let me know what you thought it meant. The next 250 have to look different. Anyway, we scroll down a bit. Let's go to these other comments in the bottom. Mex Ayan said her vibes are evil. That's why they found a dead body in her husband's home.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That's how awful she is. That just happened too.
Oh my God. So ghetto. It's so ghetto. That is true. I mean, she's married to some, I think he's like a drug addict. Surprise, surprise, right? Gee, what a shocker. Her husband is a criminal, and I don't know, he's like one of these like second chancers, I guess. Let's go to let's look at this up. But I think like a week ago they found a dead body at one of her husband's properties.
Yeah, it was right after we questioned her about ICE murdering people.
Yeah,
which is
go
pretty
to
ironic.
type in Ayanna Pressley husband dead body. Let's see. What is the autopsy? Let's see. What did they say? Oh, they suffered from a gunshot wound, right? Some pretty ghetto shit right there. Person found dead inside Boston home owned by Rep. Ayanna Pressley's husband died of a gunshot wound, police say. The person found dead inside the rental property owned by the husband of Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley over the weekend died of a gunshot wound, according to a police report. So again, these are the people saying, yo, you feels me, America? The next 250, they gotta look different. No more whitey, no more Jew, no more Christians. We only gotta get Abdul and Zoran up in this bitch. We gotta make it Muslim. We gotta make it black. We gotta make it Hispanic. You feels me? Yeah, they want to abolish ICE. They want to abolish ICE and they want to abolish police because they want to be able to have their, degenerate ghetto cookouts at their properties in Boston where they, end up having dead bodies show up with gunshot wounds and nobody's going to be there. Like the body apparently was just rotting inside this rental property owned by Ayanna Pressley's husband. Yeah, because how does a dead body just show up in your house, right? And that's what I'm talking about. The people who want to abolish ICE and they want to abolish the police, they are surrounded by criminals. They are surrounded by violent terrorists, domestic terrorists, Antifa, communists, people like Hasan Piker, who's openly calling for, the murder of U.S. senators, the assassination of a United States president. Just tonight, we saw another assassination attempt on Donald Trump, in case you missed it, in California tonight. Look at the behavior. Just look at the behavior. Look at the behavior and look at the associations of the people calling for the abolishment of ICE and the abolishment of the police. They are surrounded by violent crime and terrorist activity. And they want these agencies to be abolished because they and their family members want to be able to get away with violent crime. Violent crime without any consequence whatsoever. And that is what they have in communist countries and they have in these Sharia shitholes where, you're governed by a bunch of Islamic supremacists or communist authoritarian dictators, where if you criticize the regime, you disappear. You and your family will disappear. You will be made to disappear. And there's nobody that you're going to be able to report the crime to because, if you're powerful enough, if you're a part of the regime or you're part of the political class, you can kill anybody you want and you can get away with any crime that you want. And that's just how it works. That's just how it works. That's just how it works in these authoritarian regimes or these Islamic countries. That is what they want. Because no sane person would want to abolish a law enforcement agency.
Do you want to hear something really funny about Elena Presley, though? She's from Cincinnati, Ohio, too. She's from my hometown. So it's pretty funny how she, acts so ghetto and all this stuff. But, she went to this place called Princeton High School. And it's not ghetto. I used to go to swim practice at Princeton High School. And white kids don't go to swim practice in the ghetto. So it's pretty funny, actually. 2010, 2011, I was running around Princeton High School and she was running around Princeton High School. Who knew? She was 5 years older than me, or a little older, 15 actually. But she was in the area. She wasn't bald. And then she moved out of Cincinnati, moved to Massachusetts, shaved her head, and went woke. She's even kind of a fraud, even though she's dangerous. But yeah, she's not as ghetto as how she acts. She's from a white neighborhood of Cincinnati, Ohio. Isn't that kind of funny?
Yeah, well, they're all actresses, aren't they?
Yes.
Another example of how this is a foreign insurgency again, and how these people just want to abolish law enforcement agencies so that they can have their communities and really I really honestly think that they're building a physical army. I think that they want to mobilize these people to act as an army against American citizens. Pramila Jayapal, who's another foreign-born Islamic-adjacent member of Congress, spoke at Abdul's event and also said ICE must be abolished, right? So again, this is pretty much like the key message, the key theme of Abdul El Sayed's campaign. And it's not a coincidence that they're running him in the state that has the highest population of Islamic jihadist immigrants, because you need somebody who's going to be able to champion at the top of the ballot, somebody who's going to be able to coalesce immense political power in that state to be a representative for all of those jihadist insurgents. So hopefully people are starting to see this a little bit differently, but we can go ahead and play clip number 24.
What ICE and CBP are doing across the country, and Senator Warren and I just came from Minneapolis where we were campaigning there, is unbelievable cruelty. It's a militia that's been unleashed onto the streets of the United States, killing U.S. citizens like Renee Good and Alex Preddy, people who have been here without committing a single crime, like Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Texas and Johan Christian Guerrero in Biddeford, Maine. We have to stop that. But Abdul's opponent, when given the chance in the House of Representatives, voted to thank ICE, to laud ICE. ICE should not exist as it does. It needs to be disbanded. We can do immigration enforcement in a different way, and Abdul is the only candidate that I trust to do that in the United States Senate.
She's nuts too.
The only person she trusts to disband ICE is a Muslim.
Of course. And she's a top Democrat immigration in the House, by the way. #1 ranked. So if they take back the House, she's in charge of immigration policy for our whole country.
People don't realize that, but that is true. Yes. People better wake up. They talk about it being a militia. They say that ICE is a militia, but they have no problem with the Islamic militias. They have no problem with the fact that in Dearborn, Michigan, they just created their own Muslim police force. You can look it up. Is that not a militia? The Muslims in Dearborn have their own police force and their own police patch. Muslim police force, Dearborn, Michigan. Is that not a militia? Okay. You can scroll down and you can see that they designed their own police badge. Okay. A message from the Dearborn Heights Police Department, the chief, Ahmed Haidar.
Ahmed Haidar.
Now, a great deal has been said about the proposed patch that included Arabic writing. I want to set the record straight. The officer who created this design is a respected professional who has served the city with distinction. His intent was simple and honorable, to reflect the diversity of our city and to demonstrate inclusiveness. Let's scroll down so we can see the image without this, text blocking it. It was never about religion, ideology, or division. It was never about religion, but we put a police badge. We wanted to make our own Muslim police badge. We wanted to make sure that the non-Muslims in Dearborn understood that you are under Islamic control. So we are going to not put our police badge in English anymore. It is going to only be in Arabic. And if you don't speak Arabic, then you need to leave our community. I mean, go back to that post. All right, scroll down. They try to act like, that's the real police badge there. But it's not. You have images of it. Let's go to, there's a Breitbart article that was written about it too. You can type in Dearborn Police Muslim badge, something like that. Here you can see CBS News has it too. This is a big story. Scroll up. So after they tried to fully Islamify their police force in Dearborn, Michigan, and turn all of their patches into, some Arabic pro Sharia law symbol, people, the story went viral and it received outcry because Americans were like, oh my God, how is this happening in the United States of America? And of course, Abdul El Sayed defended this when it happened, right? He had nothing bad to say about it because these are his people. These are his voters. And then the mayor came out and said that the Arabic police patch was not an official prototype. No, it 100% was an official prototype, but they just received so much backlash And you can see here, nearly 40% of its residents identify as Middle Eastern or North African. An entire city in Michigan identifies as North African. And they try to defend it by saying, oh, there's so many Arabic speakers here. That's why we wanted to have an Arabic police patch. An Arabic police patch. The patch was optional. It would mark the first police patch in the country to feature the Arabic language. Okay. Yeah, it's not a coincidence that this is all happening in Michigan, where Abdul El Sayed is being run as the Senate candidate. That's why she says, if we were to abolish ICE or abolish the police, it will only get done by Abdul El Sayed. Yeah, because Michigan is ground zero for all of the Islamification of America. Michigan and Minneapolis, really. Michigan and Minnesota are ground zero. Kind of identical, right? It's like two little experiments happening at the same time. Ground zero for the Islamic takeover of America. You give them an inch, they take a mile. So, you know, people think that this is just about diversity and, oh, it's so great. Wow, it's amazing. We're going to have our first Muslim senator. Wow, so great.
That's a big scam.
There's nothing great about it. There's nothing great about it. Okay. Look at the policies that they're supporting and they're implementing in Michigan right now. They have animal sacrifice there now too, to appease these Muslims. You know, they proposed, we talked about this on the show a few months ago as well. I think it's in Dearborn, Michigan, animal sacrifice. Yep. Hamtramck Council approves. Detroit Free Press. 2023, Hamtramck Council approves Islamic animal sacrifices at home. Okay, all these Hamtramck representatives, they've all come out and endorsed Abdul El Sayed for Senate. Okay, Michigan City okays animal sacrifice for religious reasons. So you got Sharia police enforcement, Arabic on the police badges. If you don't speak Arabic, well, you're shit out of luck. Animal sacrifice to appease these Muslims that like torturing animals. Okay, they have no respect for animals. They hate dogs. You already saw what Nardine Kiswani, Mamdami's supporter in New York City, wanted. She wanted Mamdami after he won. Oh, you know, I've been such a loyal supporter to you, and I caused so much chaos against the Jews on the college campuses. So, you know, do me a favor and make it illegal for New Yorkers to own dogs because dogs are dirty and they're so un-Islamic. No, I'm not making this up, right? You can go look this up. We have receipts to prove all of this stuff, right? They say I'm so crazy. They say that I'm such a bigot and such a racist, but I have all the receipts to back up everything that I'm saying. Type in Nardine Kiswani. I think it's like Nerdine Kiswani. Mamdami banned dogs. You can look this up in real time. Scroll down. Let's see. Okay. Florida Rep. Randy Fine faces backlash for tweet about dogs being preferable than Muslims. This, if you recall, it caused an entire firestorm because Congressman Randy Fine ended up responding. I want to show the actual news article about what she said. Let's get the news article up about what she said. Not the congressman, what she said. Nardine Kiswani talks about banning dogs. Let's just get it up. And it's like a Daily Mail article or something. There was some article about this, her saying that dogs are dirty. Type in unclean. Okay, there it is. Palestinian activist calls dogs un-Islamic. There we go. Palestinian activist calls dogs, and they try to scrub these news articles. When this story came out, it was everywhere, and then they try to hide the news articles so that they run cover for these Muslims so that you're never able to like see how radical these people really are. So this lady, she is the head of this organization called Within Our Lifetime, radical Muslim, very radical person, a Muslim activist on camera, openly supporting Hamas, Hezbollah, calling for intifadas at violent protests in New York City. One of the organizers at one of these encampments, and she was, a big supporter of Zohran Mamdani. He openly campaigned with her when he ran for mayor of New York City. Anyway, when he got elected, she posted that dogs are un-Islamic and they should be banned as indoor pets in New York City. You can scroll down. I think they probably even have a copy of her tweet. Probably, you know. She said that dogs have a place in society, but not as indoor pets, and they're unclean and un-Islamic, right? Anyway, this caused a firestorm, and Mamdani, of course, didn't condemn her, didn't have anything bad to say about this, but this is what they want to do. They want to test the limits to see how far they can go. And they will. They 100% will, right? First, it's, oh, we want to have animal sacrifice for religious reasons. And then they get their animal sacrifice in Michigan. And then they say, oh, well, we want to ban dogs because dogs are unclean. They're un-Islamic. They're haram. We don't want to, you know, we don't want to have dogs in our society, right? And then people freak out and they say, oh, we're just joking. We're just joking. She says, it's obviously a joke. I don't care if you have a dog. I do care if your dog is shitting everywhere and you're not cleaning it, she wrote. But nothing about all the Muslims that are shitting all over our streets, right? These dirty, animalistic Muslims that come to our country and they wipe their ass with one hand and they eat their rice with the other hand, right? Like Zoran Mamdani. And nothing about those people shitting all over America's streets, not assimilating, right? Smelling like shit, looking like shit, making our society smell like shit, making our society look like shit with their Islamic garb, their hijab, their burqa, you name it. Nothing about that. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. I don't actually want to ban your dogs, right? I want to kill your dogs. One step at a time, though. One step at a time as the Islamic takeover of America continues. So then you can go back to the other article about Randy Fine. So then what ended up happening then is Randy Fine then, tweeted in response to her. You can scroll down, you can read this article. Florida GOP rep Randy Fine faced backlash over the weekend, and this was a couple months ago, for a post on X where he implied dogs were preferable to Muslims. He said, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one, he wrote on X. And then, he introduced legislation to protect dogs from Sharia law and to protect dogs from these Islamic supremacists. Congressman Randy Fine introduces legislation to protect puppies from Sharia. So people think that this is, a joke. They think, oh, well, nothing bad is going to happen. We have these Muslims getting elected in our country. Nothing bad is going to happen. Why is it that, we could have Jews in office, but we can't have Muslims in office? Well, I don't see Jews trying to, pass animal sacrifice laws and trying to ban people's pets. But America has now become so infiltrated by these Muslims, and this is not a joke. This is real. This is real legislation, and people need to understand this because they need to see, just how serious this is. And let's make sure we get the lower third changed on the screen too, please. Okay, we gotta make sure everything's in line with what we're talking about. Randy Fine introduces this legislation to protect puppies from Sharia law. And Charles, I want to get your comment on this too, because everybody loves to say that we overreact. Whenever we confront members of Congress, whenever we ask people about this Islamic communist takeover of America, they say, oh, well, you're being very intolerant. You're being very racist. You're being very bigoted. It's a very bigoted and hateful comment that you're making. No, we are watching America get fundamentally transformed. As Ayanna Pressley said, she wants the next 250 to look different. Imagine in America, the next 250 years where we're not allowed to have indoor pets anymore because we have Muslims who are passing animal sacrifice laws and banning Americans from being able to have dogs. We're going to see an uptick in Islamic terrorist attacks and female genital mutilation and honor killings across our country. This is not a joke. This is not a meme. This is not something to laugh about. This is real. This is really happening in our country. And so, when she says that she wants the next 250 to look different, this is not good for America. Imagine more animal sacrifice. Imagine dogs being banned. Imagine honor killings. Zoran Mamdani said too, and you can pull this up. We have the receipts on this. Cannon can get this pulled up. Remember when Zoran Mamdani said, I think I have to tell him the keywords to plug in here, but it's Zoran Mandami, domestic violence response, New York City.
Okay, he wants to be like social workers.
He wants to have social workers because in Islam, why does he want to get rid of police response for domestic violence calls? Right? Police one. He wants to reduce the NYPD role in mental health crisis calls. Okay, go back. There's an actual video. Let's see. Here, scroll up a little bit. In a resurfaced podcast interview, that one right there. Let's click that one. It's all real. In a resurfaced podcast interview, New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani suggested the NYPD should not respond to domestic violence calls. So he runs as a progressive, right? Pretends like, progressives love women. But really look at this in an ideological level and analyze it from an ideological perspective. Why does Zoran Mamdani want to get rid of domestic violence calls for the NYPD? Because in Islam, it's permissible to physically abuse and rape women, right? So you see the way that these Muslim candidates are, they're getting elected to office in major cities and in major states, in New York City and in Michigan, right? In Minnesota, wherever it may be. And they're passing laws that are Islamic in nature. This is the Islamification of our legal system. They don't want to try to declutter, the responsibilities of NYPD. They want to protect Muslim men who would otherwise have the police called on them for raping and physically assaulting women, because in Islam, it's 100% okay, because women in Islam have less rights than animals, less rights than animals. So when they say the next 250 have to look different, you better believe them. When they say this, they're talking about no more whitey, no more Christians, and no more Jews. They want to hack the Supreme Court, and they already blocked the president's executive order on getting rid of birthright citizenship. And what's next is going to be packing the Supreme Court and then rewriting our Constitution. Mark my word, and you can save this clip. It's going to live in infamy. They want to rewrite the Constitution so that they can make it so that foreigners can run to be president of the United States, because they will say that it is a white supremacist doctrine, that it is anti-Muslim, that it is anti-immigrant, that it is anti-American when they redefine what it means to be an American, to have it be constitutionally stated, right, and inscribed in our laws that only U.S.-born citizens can be president of the United States. Mark my word, that's coming next. They're going to pack the Supreme Court and they're going to rewrite the Constitution so that a Zoran Mandami or an Abdul El Sayed can be president of the United States. And then we don't have to imagine anymore, by pretending that Obama is a Christian when he's really a Muslim born in Africa, what it's going to be like to have an openly Muslim president of the United States of America. We're going to finally have our openly Muslim president of the United States of America, and he's going to be African born. And you're going to watch the United States of America transform into a third world Muslim shithole in real time. And that's going to be the end of it. America's going to be done. It's going to be the end of our experiment. There's not going to be another 250 years because it's going to be over. It's going to be over.
Oh, and the only dogs that are going to be allowed are going to be dogs like Donovan that Hasan can walk around the campaign trail.
Exactly. It's going to be their, it's going to be their, it's going to be their, their black communist Islamic mouthpieces, because we know how much the Muslims love slave labor. Right, they love to blame that on Whitey too. They love to blame the slave trade on Whitey, right? And talk about all the sins of America and how much they hate white people.
The Africans themselves.
The Muslims are the ones that invented the slave trade. The Muslims are the ones that invented the slave trade. So it's not a surprise to me that Hasan Piker is literally dog walking some, fat black man in Michigan on a leash, shaking him around like he's his new pet DSA candidate.
It's seriously, y'all have to watch the footage. Like, Donovan
the
literally
footage.
looks at
We
him
have
like,
the clip.
Hasan, can I walk to this table and talk to these people? And Hassan's like, sure, you can talk to these people. And then Hasan cuts him off mid-conversation and walks him to the next house. Poor
I think
Donovan.
we have the clip, I believe. I think
Yeah,
it's
we
on.
do. Poor Donovan. Like, bro, what are you doing getting walked around by Hasan Piker? What's wrong with you?
But again, you know, I mean, they're trying to it's another subliminally. I mean, look, if you don't study this stuff and you don't know about it, and maybe a lot of people, maybe this is going to be their entry into finally trying to, you know, study Islam and kind of understand this. But it may sound crazy what we're saying to you right now if you don't actually study this ideology. But once you study it, you realize, no, it's not a coincidence that he's dog walking this black man. No, they have very, they think very negatively about black people in these Muslim majority countries. They still have slave labor in places like Libya, where they enslave black Africans. And so, you know, it might seem kind of funny to you, this idea or this imagery of Hasan Piker treating this black candidate like his personal dog, keeping him on a leash. But again, all of this is very Islamic in nature, right? The subjugation of women, the poor treatment of animals, animal sacrifice, the mistreatment of blacks, or, you know, the way that they're now trying to cozy up with the black community, trying to further subjugate the black community and get them on board with their supremacist ideology. It's going to be too late by the time people wake up and really realize what's happening. Did we find that clip?
I think he's beating Cherie by a lot right now too.
Do we have the clip of this guy being dog walked by Hasan? We'll get the clip pulled up. While we're waiting for the clip. It's going to get up in a second, but
pretty remarkable.
We'll go to the chat. I mean, I'm very interested if we're just speaking into a void or if people's eyes are actually being opened by this analysis. I want to go to the chat and see what people have to say, because I see this everywhere. Once you learn about this stuff and you see, when you are able to process information through this lens, and you're able to see things through the lens of the Red-Green Alliance, everywhere you go, you see it. There's just no going back. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's just in your face 24/7. And you realize how much of our country has been completely conquered. Scroll up. Let's see what people are saying. Diane, animal sacrifice is not Christian. Where are all the animal activists? Well, exactly. They want to placate to the Muslims. Muslim privilege. I'm telling you, you're not allowed to criticize these people. Where's PETA? How come PETA's not out here criticizing all these Muslims and these Muslim candidates that are defending this type of behavior? Oh, yeah, another person in the chat said the piece of shit Muslim cop got away with killing the white chick a few years ago. Yep. Justine Diamond, I believe her name was. Beautiful white lady in Minneapolis. She was wearing her pajamas. A Somali Muslim cop shot her because she was in her pajamas and he thought it was haram. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was in her pajamas and he shot her because he thought it was haram. Look it up. Swear to God. Look the story up yourself. He shot her and murdered her in cold blood. Justine Diamond. This was in Minnesota. She was an Australian woman, murdered by a Somali cop with the IQ of a retard. Okay? Let's exit out of that. Let's go to this article. The shooting of Justine and the trial of former officer Mohammed Noor. On the evening of July 15th, Justine Rusick, I couldn't pronounce her last name, also known as Justine Damon, called 911. About 22 minutes later, she was shot dead by then Minneapolis police officer Mohammed Noor. And this was their diversity hire. They made this whole big thing about oh, wow, he's like our first Somali cop. He can't read and he can't write and he can barely speak English, but he's a Somali. So let's give him a gun. Yeah. See how that worked out, right? Anyway, he was found guilty. Found guilty of third-degree murder. He murdered her. He killed her. He killed a white woman in her pajamas. He killed her for simply not being a non-Muslim, for being a non-Muslim. And they can lie about it all they want. They wanted to justify it, and they said that, you know, they made all these excuses. You can go back and you can read all these articles about it. They made so many excuses for this guy. So many excuses for this guy. And then like 4 years ago, a U.S. court overturned the murder conviction of the police officer. Let's scroll down and read this article. A U.S. court has thrown out the third-degree murder conviction of a former Minneapolis police officer, Mahaba Noor, for mistakenly killing an Australian woman, Justine Damon. Noor was convicted of third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in the 2017 death of Justine Damon, a dual U.S.-Australian citizen who called 911 to report a possible sexual assault behind her home. He was sentenced to 12 and a half years on the murder count, but was not sentenced for manslaughter. So, again, just getting away with it. They're just allowing for Muslims to now get away with murdering non-Muslims in cold blood in America. And that's what's going to happen. Like I said, when they abolish ICE and they abolish the police, they put the Muslim on the police force and he murdered a woman. He murdered an innocent woman, and then they overturned his murder conviction. Okay? What do you think is going to happen when they abolish the police and they abolish ICE? It's going to be open season by the Muslims on all the non-Muslims. So you better start arming yourself to protect. Let's go to the chat. Take a few more comments, a few more questions. Yeah, he was the first Somali cop who was fast-tracked. You can look it up. You can see for yourself. He was their DEI hire. He was they wanted to have this program where they wanted to like integrate Somalis into the police force, but they couldn't pass the test because the average Somali has an IQ of 69, which is below the medical classification of like, you know, retardation. Like if you have an IQ below 70 in America, they classify you as mentally retarded. Like you will be diagnosed by a doctor as mentally handicapped, retarded, right? Let's just say the word retarded. You'll be retarded. Words exist for a reason. Retarded. So in America, like I said, if your IQ is below 70, you are retarded. But these Somalis have an average IQ of 68. The average Somali, you can look it up. You can look this up online too. I'm not saying this to be derogatory towards Somalis. You can look up what is the average IQ of a Somali. 68, as I said. Average IQ in Somalia, 68. Number 193 globally. So that's how bad it is. It's like these people are disgusting. Somalia has an average IQ of 68, ranking 193 out of 195 countries globally. So they're literally like 2 slots away from being the most clinically retarded people on planet Earth. So it's not a coincidence that Obama, when he was president, decided to mass import a bunch of these Somali retards into Minneapolis. And of course, you had Keith Ellison, who was the Muslim AG. He decided that he wanted to try to fast track a lot of these Somalis into the police force. But the problem is that they couldn't read, they couldn't write, and they couldn't pass the test because their IQs were below 70. I mean, literally classified as mentally retarded. But they gave these people who would be medically classified as retarded guns and badges, and they put them on the police force because they wanted to be able to say that, you know, they fast-tracked Somali immigrants into their police force because, you know, they wanted to be able to celebrate diversity, right? But we know diversity kills. So that's the whole story there, in case you wanted to know how that guy became a police officer. But again, with the growing trend of putting more Muslims in positions of power, whether it's attorney general, whether it's Senate, whether it's Congress, you name it, you're going to see incidents like this happen on a much more frequent scale. And it's up to us to put a stop to it. It's up to us to put a stop to it. I want to take a couple more questions. Charles and I are we have any more final numbers? Did they finally finish counting? Last time we pulled it up, it was 58.1%. It was 28%. Let's see. 58%. Okay, it's getting closer. Haley Stevens, 46.8%. Abdul, 49.5%. He's still leading, 58% of the votes. So, still got a lot more votes to count, but.
The prediction markets have Abdul at 92% right now.
I mean, look, it's going to be a miracle if Haley Stevens pulls it off.
I have both of them up. I have the numbers in the prediction market. Abdul dropped to like 70 in the last hour, but now he's back up to 90.
So they haven't called it yet.
They haven't called it yet. But
I mean, he's probably going to win. I mean, when they count all these Muslim votes, but.
Oh, yeah. Wayne County's still being pretty slow, like always. Someone Dearborn came in and it really bumped his numbers up, I guess. That happened in the last hour or two.
Gee, surprise, surprise. Dearborn, Michigan. Wonder why.
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
It's so upsetting.
She cuts it close and her Dearborn numbers come in and it's basically, no, I kid you not, like, when we were talking, Abdul fell from like 98 on the prediction market to like 65. And then Dearborn came in and now he's back up to 92. Pretty remarkable stuff.
Yeah. People better get ready for what's going to happen. It's going to embolden. And look, when you have these Muslim candidates winning races, whether they win a primary or whether they win a general, it only inspires more of these Muslim jihadist candidates to run for office and to win, right? You have Adam Hamawi, who is friends with the blind sheikh, who just won in New Jersey.
He was in Michigan as well.
He was in Michigan campaigning with Hasan Piker and Abdul El Sayed. They all stick together. It's very tribalistic in that sense. Very, very tribalistic. And I'm telling you, eventually they're going to have enough political power in the House and the Senate where they can actually really implement policy and affect our lives. And then people are going to say to themselves someday, wait a second, I don't live in a Muslim country. And then you're going to blink twice and you're going to realize, oh, wait, I do live in a Muslim country. Streaming now for, I think, almost 3 hours, right?
Something like that. But yeah, no, pretty remarkable how, like, literally.
I was thinking that the results would be fully counted by now. I was thinking that the results would be fully calculated by 10 o'clock, but I guess it's taking a little bit longer. They haven't called this race yet.
Yeah, I don't know what Wayne County's doing again. Like, I'm looking right now. They have Oakland County has like 3 times still the amount of.
He'll be the nomination, or the nominee. I'm not saying, oh, I think Haley Stevens is going to win. I'm just kind of shocked that it's taking this long. I actually thought that it was going to be a lot more decisive, Just because of the demographics of Michigan and the way the state has been so infiltrated by Muslims, I figured that his lead would be a lot higher than it currently is.
Then again, I guess it might be hard for the people at Dearborn to count. They don't have the highest IQs over in Dearborn, Michigan. So, like, maybe counting ballots is difficult for them. You never know.
I don't know. They got a bunch of DEI hires up in there doing the counting. It must be very hard to do basic math. Let's scroll up. Let's see what people are saying.
Individuals from the Middle East, they can't count either.
Yeah. Marnie said, I don't see a way out unless there's a bloody war. Yeah, it's getting to that point. And, Americans better wake up and realize that we are going to have to go to war eventually to free ourselves from this Islamic occupation in our country. Because you may not think that you're at war with these people, but they think that they're at war with you. They do. They do think that they're at war with you. And look, I've posted a lot of videos and opposition research about Abdul Sayed. I did an entire documentary about him in 2018, as I highlighted on my YouTube channel. It's not like this is new, right? He was running for governor, exposed him. And even throughout this entire political campaign, since he's been running for the Senate, I exposed his previous statements where he was, he's on video talking about how, oh, you may not hate Muslims, but Muslims hate you. Like talking to an entire crowd of non-Muslim voters when he was running, because he lost his cool, he lost his temper in 2018 when he was running, and he admitted it. He even said publicly, Muslims hate you. So these people, these Islamic candidates, they have no use for anybody who isn't Islamic, who isn't going to go along with their agenda. And, you know, once they abolish ICE and once they're successful in abolishing the police, I really do believe that they are going to start sending out assassination squads to start murdering and violently attacking all of the political dissidents and all of the non-Muslims who oppose their Islamic ideology and their Islamic conquest of America. I think that we're going to start seeing these Islamic hit squads in America probably within the next 5 years, maybe even sooner.
Oh, I agree. And like, actually, if you look at a lot of these open border riots, a lot of people doing the open border riots are Muslims. I mean, we question lawmakers about this. Hasan Piker, I don't know if y'all remember this, back in June, he went to Delaney Hall with that pro-open border riot, and like 4 hours before the riot happened, he walked around the whole place where they rioted with a gas mask on. You don't do that unless you're encouraging riots. And then right after he left, like literally all hell broke loose. And the place.
Well, and every single time we cover these protests as well, the one thing that we see a lot is all the protesters are wearing keffiyehs. It's an inherently Islamic
even the white
movement.
ones in the butt, yeah, it's crazy. Every single person.
Yeah, so they're definitely using Islamists to instigate and provoke violence at these open borders, anti-ICE protests where, you know, they are attacking ICE officers and they are inciting violence. The riots in LA that we saw last year, the riots at Delaney Hall, the riots in Chicago as well. Everybody there who's throwing Molotov cocktails, everybody who's throwing bricks at the ICE agents, they're all wearing keffiyehs, all of them, every single one of them.
Pretty remarkable, actually. And they're all like DSA connected. Like, all these groups that organize it are literally directly connected to DSA. Pretty remarkable stuff.
But they got, I just think that once this happens, once the results are actually calculated tonight, and I mean, look, I'm sure Abdul will be the nominee. It's going to be a miracle if he's not.
98% now.
It's at 98%?
On Polymarket, he's up 98% to win.
Let's
now.
refresh. Let's refresh the results. Let's get the page pulled up again.
Like I said, he went down to like 60 for a second, and then it bumped right back up.
Yeah, look, he's going to be the nominee. I mean, look, he'll be the nominee. That's what will happen. He'll be the nominee, and that's it. He'll be the nominee. But once this happens and he's officially declared the nominee, people are going to have to decide whether they want to have their country fundamentally transformed into an Islamic caliphate, or they want to, you know, maybe cross the political aisle. And you may have a lot of Democrats like these Haley Stevens voters. Are they going to actually support the Democrat nominee, or are they going to cross the aisle and maybe vote for a Mike Rogers if that's the case, right? I just think that we're crossing into a time in our country now where you can't necessarily just vote your party line. You can't just vote your party line, because I don't really believe that all Democrats are this radical. I think that there's a lot of good Democrats out there. There's probably, you know, a lot of Democrats that are very uncomfortable with this rhetoric. You saw James Carville on Fox News talking to Jackie Heinrich saying that who's going to leave the Democrat Party? It's either going to be him or it's going to be Hasan Piker, because the Democrat Party isn't going to have both of them. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that feel this way, but what are they going to do about it? Are they going to sit home in November, or will they cross the political aisle and will they vote Republican? I don't know what your thoughts are, but I don't think the GOP is really doing enough with the messaging to get people motivated, you know, ideologically speaking, of course, to get out and vote against the Sharia takeover of America, the Islamic takeover of America. Because
Democrats are going to have some serious questions they're going to need to answer about themselves, their party, and I guess what they morally stand for. Something tells me we might be asking them those questions. I think they're in tomorrow. Who knows?
Well, yeah, I think that Loomer Unleashed is probably going to be the entity asking them these questions, but
no, like seriously, like Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren especially misses I protect women, but you also back Abdul, and Abdul's running around a guy who says America deserved 9/11 and doesn't respect women. So see what Elizabeth Warren has to say about that. Very interesting times ahead.
Yeah. I hear Abdul, he likes to say he's a doctor. I wonder if all these women who are all of a sudden so excited to support a Muslim candidate are going to sign up. Are they going to opt in, or are they going to opt out for the female genital mutilation?
I don't know. It all just depends, I guess. But yeah, as Candace and them going to be wearing jobs in Michigan and campaigning for him, I really want to put it past.
Yeah, we'll see the woke right and the radical left joining
Tucker will be like, he's not that
joining forces. They're gonna be campaigning in full burqa in Michigan in the general election.
Wait, you should be able to bet if Abdul is going on Tucker's show or not. Like, that's a valid
I'm sure he
bet.
probably will. I mean, look,
He probably will be like,
Tucker was talking about how he wanted to interview Graham Plattner, so if he was willing to support Graham Plattner, why wouldn't he have Abdul El Sayed on? I'm sure he probably will.
Like, you're the coolest Muslim ever. People just mean you because you're Muslim. Like, yeah, we know where this is going. Candace will be interviewing Abdul's wife, the doctor, supposedly. Supposedly Abdul's wife's a doctor, but I don't know about that
Well,
one.
Abdul likes to say he's a doctor too, but he's not. He's not a
Yeah,
doctor.
they're both doctors, Laura. Supposedly. They're both
He
doctors.
likes to say he's a doctor. Can't provide any evidence though.
Oh, he can't. It's something else.
It's just,
The only
it's
people are
unbelievable.
liars.
And it just sounds so crazy. This would have been so disqualifying several years ago, lying about your record, lying about your credentials, like pretending that you were, a doctor when you're not, or, just openly supporting a terrorist organization, refusing to say anything bad about a terrorist that was killed in an airstrike. I mean, these are things that used to be career enders. There's just no standards anymore. We really honestly have no moral compass or any guidance when it comes to morality as a society anymore. There's just nothing that seems to be too beyond the pale.
No, nothing. Especially with these Islamic communists, like I said, lines.
There's just nothing. I mean, if your own party isn't going to call on you to resign for openly supporting and being on the record supporting Islamic terrorism, then what's next? Right? What's next? We have a clip. I guess this clip is coming out from tonight's election victory party. Let's get this clip pulled up. I'm going to put this in the chat. Hasan Piker talking about how they don't want the term swing state to exist anymore. And that he's going to be supporting these Islamic communist candidates, that they're never supposed to have swing states, and there's never going to be swing states ever again.
Oh yeah, that means
because they're going to be completely taken over by Muslims. Let's go ahead and get this this clip pulled up. I just I put it in the chat. This is all coming in right now, live from Abdul El Sayed's election night party. His election HQ.
Of course he's there.
Of course he's there. He's been campaigning with him all day long.
Oh, I know. Just something else.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and play the clip.
Do you see a progressive lane materializing that goes through Michigan in 2028 after tonight?
Absolutely. But it's not just Michigan. This is just the beginning. These are never supposed to be swing states, and they will never be swing states ever again if I have something to do with it. It's not just Michigan. It's not just Wisconsin. We will hopefully continue this movement all across the United States of America. We'll go to every single state.
There's never going to be swing states. They're never going to have swing states again. That's what he's saying, because they want to fundamentally transform America with Islamic communist candidates. And how are they going to do that? With a great replacement. Obviously, they want to try to push for giving amnesty or citizenship to all of these illegal aliens, right? 25 million illegal aliens who came in under Joe Biden. We have over 65 million illegal aliens in our country. Tom Homan personally told me that nearly 3 million of those illegal aliens who came in under Biden are Muslims, and 2 million of them are Iranian proxies. Okay, so that's what he's saying. He's saying that we are going to mobilize this Islamic communist force across the swing states to the point where you can't have that margin, because there's going to be such an overwhelming force of Muslims and communists living in these states that Republicans will never be able to win.
Oh yeah, and they're also abolished the Electoral College and what we said, add DC and Puerto Rico as states. So the Senate races won't matter anymore. Yeah, and the
Supreme Court to change the United States Constitution to make it so that foreign-born individuals can be president of the United States. They can already run for office in the United States, unfortunately. Like, we have foreigners. A lot of these candidates are foreign-born, whether they're born in India or they're born in, wherever it is, right? Somalia, Uganda. You can be a foreigner and hold office, unfortunately, right? There's no laws that are preventing that right now, except for the office of the presidency. But mark my word, that's going to be their next initiative. They're going to say that it's inherently white supremacist and anti-American to keep foreigners from becoming president of the United States.
Oh, I know. And they never want to have the Senate beamed out again. So when they add DC and Puerto Rico, that's 4 Senate seats. That's Democrat control forever. Because if you really look at it, what's our margin in the Senate right now? Like 3 or 4. So yeah, imagine being down 4 to begin with. You're never going to win an election. And you cancel the Electoral College. There's no more swing states.
Yeah, it's Democrat supermajority.
Without having to change the Constitution. That's what people don't get.
But they will change the Constitution. They will, though. The reason why they want to pack the Supreme Court is to change the Constitution. People always talk about the Democrats wanting to, pack the Supreme Court. But we have to ask ourselves, why do they want to pack the Supreme Court? They want to change the Constitution. What do they want to change about the Constitution? They want to redefine what it means to be an American, because they want to be able to run a foreign-born individual, probably a foreign-born Muslim, to be president of the United States. That is why, and you will see this happen. Mark my word, in the next 5 to 10 years, you will see an initiative by the Democrats to pack the Supreme Court so that they can change the United States Constitution.
Yeah, and then they can take all your money. I'm dead serious. If you're not a Muslim or sympathetic to Muslims, they will take your money.
Yeah, they'll impose a jizya.
That's tax. When Abdul says Medicare for all by wealth tax, that's what he means. Obamacare for the poor black people they control. Yeah,
that's another element. Like when Abdul likes to say, I'm just talking about issues that matter to Americans. So that's another way that these Islamic communist candidates are disguising the Sharia law that they want to implement. Muslims impose a jizya. It's like a tax on the non-Muslims, a disbeliever tax, right? A jizya tax. You can look this up yourself. If you type it in, and for those of you who don't know anything about Islam, you need to start reading about Islam. A jizya tax, Jizya tax. Yeah. Jizya tax is a historical per capita tax levied by Islamic governments on non-Muslim subjects known as dhimmis. In exchange for payments, non-Muslims receive state protection, freedom to practice their religion, and exemption from military service, right? But in the end, they end up just taking your money and killing you anyway. So, that's what it is. It's a tax. So when they talk about a wealth tax, who else is talking about the tax right now? Zoran Mamdani, that's all he wants to talk about. He wants to talk about, he's making lists of people that need to be paying this tax, because he's trying to create lists of non-Muslims so that the Muslims that are activated in New York can go out there in a militant fashion and go target and, break into the homes of these non-Muslims or physically attack them. And you even see Democrats talking about this. They're like, oh, well, I guess, we didn't realize the leopard was eventually going to eat our face. Oh, yeah, why would Zoran Mamdani create this list unless, is he trying to have somebody assassinate us? Well, why would he do this in a town, in a city where they just executed the CEO of United Healthcare? And then the big light bulb goes off in their head. Oh, I guess he is trying to get us killed. Oh. Yeah, I mean,
I guess he's just not a nice guy after all.
I guess he's just not a nice guy. I guess the lesson is you just don't elect Muslims to hold office in America, because all of their policies are going to be ideologically rooted in some kind of Islamic They're Islamic coded is the term, right? They're Islamic coded. You know, Medicare for all, wealth tax, right? A tax on the rich. No, it's not a tax on the rich. It's a tax on the non-Muslims. It's a tax on people that are not like you. It's a jizya tax. That's what it is. Okay, it's a jizya tax.
Oh, and they'll write it to like ensure it's only on Trump supporters too. Like they will.
Yeah, it's a jizya tax. It's Islamic ideology. People don't understand this. You know, that's why they need to stop talking about socialism. It's not socialism. This is not socialism. This is this is Islam. This is not socialism. So when the GOP talks about this, like, oh, it's socialism, and we're here to tell you why socialism is bad. Why don't you tell me why Islam is bad? How about that? Why don't you start talking about why Islam is bad? Because this has nothing to do with socialist policies. This has everything to do with Islamic policies. When you dissect it, when you analyze it, when you look at the historical context, it's Islamic. It's not socialist.
Oh yeah, people need to wake up to that fact. Hopefully they will.
Let's see what people are saying in the chat before we close out tonight. I mean, look, they're probably going to be counting votes for another hour or two. And I already know what the results are going to be, so I'm not going to stay on a live stream and torture myself until it's officially called, because I already know we're going to get another Muslim nominee tonight.
Oh, I know. We don't need to watch Abdul cry about how far he's come and how his Arab parents are so proud of him.
I think one of the questions was scroll up or scroll down all the way down. Can you scroll down to the bottom? Flaw Hustler said, tell us, Laura, what's the best plan to conquer this radical Islamic Muslim invasion? It's not radical. It's just Islamic. There's nothing radical about it. It's just Islam. It's just pure Islam. Is there still a chance to save the country? I don't know. I think America's kind of far gone. You know what the solution is? Buy ammunition and buy guns. Okay? I hate to say it. I'm not inciting violence. I'm just telling you, get armed. Get armed. Make sure you have an arsenal, because these people sure as hell have an arsenal. And if they abolish the police and they abolish ICE, they're coming after you. They're going to unleash their militant Muslim militaries on all of the non-Muslims. And you think October 7th can't happen in America? Think again. It's going to happen. Start buying guns, start buying knives, start buying weapons, start accumulating every single weapon you can acquire. I'm telling you. I'm not calling for violence. I'm just saying, be ready. Be ready to defend yourself with violence in a manner of self-defense when these people ultimately decide to carry out an act of violence against you. Just be ready. Just be ready. Because the government's not coming to save you. They're not going to do anything to protect you. What do you think, Charles? Do you think it's too far gone? What's the solution? I mean, I really think that people need to start preparing for war, because that's what they mean when they say they want to abolish. They even said they want to abolish the military-industrial complex. Remember when Adam Hamawi was on Hasan Piker and he said he would take a vote. He would take a vote to disband the Department of War. So why would a Muslim want to disband ICE, abolish the police, and abolish the Department of War? These people want to go to war with you.
Yeah, they do. We have 2 elections left, by the way. Really important ones. This one in 2028. I don't think America's gone. If we lose those 2, it's not looking good. Like, literally, these next 2 elections are so important. People need to understand that.
They don't get it. Oh, we have this clip. Cannon just found it. Let's go ahead and pull this up. He found it. Yeah, look at. We're not making any of this stuff up. These are all statements that have been made by these candidates. Adam Hamawi campaigns with Hasan Piker, says, yeah, I think that we should get rid of our military. We're going to get rid of our military while we're at war with Iran, so we can allow ourselves to continue to be attacked by Islamic terrorists who are calling for the assassination of Donald Trump and the assassination of U.S. citizens. I'm telling you, the solution is to arm yourself. The solution is to prepare an arsenal, prepare for war, because war is coming. And the war isn't going to be between Republicans and Democrats. It's going to be between Muslims and non-Muslims. It's coming. It's coming. You're going to be at war with Muslims in America within the next 5 years. Mark my word. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
This is a question that I ask every candidate that comes on the broadcast, is the Zohran method. What are your top 5 policies that you want to be defined by?
So, I talk about healthcare, not bombs. I talk about abolish ICE and to unrig the economy, but let's unpack that. So healthcare, not bombs means Medicare for all, and not bombs means we need to address our foreign policy, and we need to look at the military industrial complex, take it apart and really see what we need. We are spending $1 trillion, on our defense / Department of War / Department of War crimes now. And what we need to do is spend that in healthcare and spend it in education. We need to abolish ICE. And so not only do we need to, abolish it, but we need to dismantle the DHS completely. So I want to go further because
not just abolish ICE. We need to dismantle DHS. Again, another Muslim. These are not like Christians or Jews talking about this, by the way. I want to point this out. These are all Muslims. All the Muslim candidates are so obsessed with abolishing ICE, abolishing the police, abolishing the Department of War, and abolishing DHS. DHS, Border Patrol. Okay, what falls under DHS? Okay. You have Border Patrol, you have Customs, you have security, right? TSA. DHS is in control of.
They definitely want to get rid of TSA.
Yeah, we know how much they love flying planes, airplanes. Like we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and I'm already trying to think in my head what kind of fucked up speech Mom Dami's going to give at the 25th anniversary of 9/11.
America deserved it.
Probably. I mean, he's probably going to invite Hasan Piker to say America deserved 9/11.
Probably will. But I'm in front row.
He'll be front row.
Twitching his speech live.
Yeah, twitching his speech live. Oh, God. I just hope people come to their senses and realize it's the Muslim candidates that are leading the charge on abolish police, abolish DHS, abolish ICE, abolish the military. So we're not going to have any military to protect America from an invasion. We're not going to have any police to respond to violent calls, any crimes. We're not going to have any law enforcement. We're not going to have any immigration enforcement and no border patrol. Good luck. Good luck.
Sounds like the perfect caliphate.
It does. Sounds like the perfect caliphate. So.
But that's their goal.
It's very, very bleak.
But yeah, that's why these next two elections are so important. People need to understand that. Because if they get the presidency and a majority, everything we talked about, like packing the court, it's all going to happen. And then when that happens, you can't get the power back. That's what people need to understand, too. It's like, once it happens, you're fucked. You're done.
You're done. There's no going back. There's no voting yourself. There's not going to be a way to vote ourselves out of this mess.
Either. It's not like Sims or Civilization, where when your civilization loses, you just hit the reset button. It doesn't work like that.
No, it does not. We'll take a couple more questions and let's refresh the results page. Let's see where it is right now. Let's get these results pulled up. Scroll down. All right, still 68%. He's at 49. He'll be the nominee. I'm not
He's at 98% on Polymarket right now.
Yeah, I don't think Haley Stevens is gonna pull it through. I mean, look, we already knew Abdul was gonna be the nominee, but this was more of an educational episode tonight to let everybody know what they're in store for. But
he's at 99% now.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We'll take 2 more comments or questions before we close out tonight. But in the meantime, be sure that if you are interested in learning more about the Red Green Alliance and watching our daily coverage of the Islamic takeover of America, be sure you're following me on X at Laura Loomer. Follow our X account at Loomer Unleashed on X. And also be sure you're following the Charles Downs at the Charles Downs on X. And every single day, we're out there up on Capitol Hill, confronting politicians, holding them accountable, Be sure that you repost this live link as well at the top of my X account, at the top of the Loomer Unleashed account. You could also repost the live Rumble link. Be sure that you download the Rumble app, hit the green button. Hit the green button, share the episode on Rumble and X, and hopefully you found it to be educational. It's just, it's very bleak. It's very serious. I wish I had more positive updates for you tonight, but, you know, the GOP really needs to change their messaging or we're totally screwed. Because I'll tell you right now, if they do not start talking about this as it pertains to Islam instead of talking about socialism, the messaging should be about Islam and communism. Islam and communism, right? Islamic communism, not communism and socialism.
Yeah, and I guess too, like, I was gonna say, people are saying what they can do to like stop this. If you have a GOP member of Congress, like, call them, go to their open office hours and talk to them. You're their constituent. Tell them this is what you care about, and tell them this is what you want them to speak about. Yeah. And the more people that tell their member of Congress this, they will listen. If their office gets a lot of phone calls saying, "Hey, we care about this," they will move. And there's
call
like
them and tell them they need to start talking about the Islamic takeover.
Like, actually, that's what you should do. If your member of Congress isn't part of the Sharia Free America caucus, call them and ask them why they're not.
Yeah, why is it that not every single member of Congress is a member of the Sharia Free America caucus? They should. I mean, the fact that we have a Sharia caucus in the Congress and majority of members of Congress are not a member of it is alarming. Why would you not want to join the anti-Sharia law caucus?
Actually, that's like the best thing you can do. If you have a Republican member of Congress or senator, call them and be like, "Why aren't you a member of this?" And call them every day until they join. You're not harassing them or anything. You're their constituent. You can call them. You can call their office anytime you want.
It's so
true. Get all
true.
your friends to call them too. And by the way, don't email. Call. They view one call as like 300 emails or something like that. No joke. I used to be a lobbyist, I know. But yeah, that's what I think you should do. If you really care, call your member of Congress and ask them to join the Sharia Free America caucus. That's the start.
Absolutely. All right, 2 more comments, 2 more questions. Be sure that you're following us on social media. Be sure that you go to loomer.com, where you can read all of our articles and exposés. We cover a lot of the interactions up on the Hill with these members of Congress. Everything you need to know. Everything you need to know that's not being reported by the mainstream media. All right, let's go back to the chat. 2 more comments. Little Animal said, "Thank you, Charles and Laura. Great show." Thanks, Laura. I enjoy your show. Well, thank you. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Wish it was more positive, but sadly, there's nothing positive about the Islamic takeover of our country. It's very depressing. Fox just wants to talk about the WNBA to distract people from real problems. Yeah. I was watching, I just had Fox on in the background the other day. And they had this stupid segment on about, oh, you could use AI to fix your boyfriend.
What?
Yeah, like they had some bimbo on. I think it was Brett Cooper. Right. I think it was that Brett Cooper chick. I don't know. I don't watch her. I don't find her appealing. But they had Brett Cooper on and she was talking about, oh, you gotta, use AI to like fix your boyfriend. It was just like such a stupid low IQ segment. I just saw the screenshot on my phone. I think I even took a photo of it because I was just like, what the fuck is this? This like low IQ nonsense. Let me see if I have it in my phone. I took a photo of it because I was just like, this is so retarded.
Oh yeah, and then they've been hyping up.
I take a lot of photos of things that make me angry, because I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Oh yeah, speaking of the WNBA, it's pretty funny how Fox hyped up Caitlin Clark, but that lady is so woke. She won't even like stand up for guys in women's sports. She refuses, but like they were going on.
I got it here. Okay. So it was a segment with Ainsley Earhart and Brett Cooper. I just put it in the chat. We can get the screenshot pulled up. It was just so
she's a real low IQ individual.
Can AI fix your boyfriend? A new AI agent works to pick up the slack. Like, what are we doing? I took a screenshot of this the other day. This was a real segment on Fox News. So they don't want to talk about the Islamic takeover of America. They don't want to talk about these Muslims that are trying to impose Sharia law on Americans, but they want to talk about, oh wow, there's an AI agent that can fix your boyfriend. Like, what are we doing here? Do we not have anything? Do we not have anything important to talk about? Like, what is this low IQ, cosmopolitan brain rot bullshit? It's just, I don't know. And then they wonder why misogyny is on an uptick. This is why. This is why. This is why.
Yeah, that sounds pretty woke.
This is why people embrace misogyny. When you have segments like this on TV, and then you wonder why people are becoming increasingly more misogynistic. Talk about things that matter. Talk about things that matter. The Islamic communist takeover of America.
Well, never good at that either.
Can AI fix your boyfriend?
Try to press Ro Khanna and she never can. She tries so hard to question Ro Khanna, yet she never can.
Who is this?
He's not that hard to press. We press him all the time. It's so funny.
Who?
Shannon Bream, have you seen that? I think
they don't do real journalism.
She doesn't do
over
it.
At
She's
Fox
like, oh,
News.
Ro, what do you think of this? And then Ro just lies his ass off, and then she's like, okay, next question.
They don't ask real questions. They don't ask real questions or do real news at Fox News.
He's an idiot.
I was supposed to go on a Fox podcast the other day, and then they canceled 20 minutes before I was supposed to go on because management of Fox News says I wasn't allowed to go on. I can't go on and talk about my real impactful interview with President Zelensky in Ukraine. I go to Ukraine. I get an exclusive interview with the president of Ukraine. Like, not easy to do, by the way. Hello. Okay, I beat the mainstream media all week in getting the exclusive interview with President Zelensky. The president of the United States shares my interview, and I can't get on Fox News. But then this bullshit, this is a real segment on Fox. Can AI fix your boyfriend? So whatever. I mean, look, we're not going to take back our country when our mainstream media is talking about AI boyfriends and they don't want to talk about how Muslim candidates are trying to Islamify America. We're just not. We're totally cooked as a country. And if the Democrats take back the House and the Senate, it's over. Trump's going to be a lame duck president if the Democrats take over. They're going to impeach him. They'll try to throw him in jail. They'll try to throw his family members in jail, and that's it. It's done. It's over.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
That's it.
But Shannon Bream's trying her hardest to question Ro Khanna, so it's okay. No, it's pretty remarkable to watch that.
Look, these people, like nothing serious comes out of Fox News, okay? It's basically TV for stupid people. It's TV for stupid people.
It gives me a headache after watching it. Not gonna lie. I don't like watching it. Anytime I do, though, my head throbs.
It's TV for stupid people. Take one more question. Let's see. One more comment, one more question in the chat. Yeah, they said nobody watches Fox. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
Real joke of a network.
Whatever you say, Ro Khanna. Literally, that's what they do.
Yeah, well, we're cooked. We're cooked. The media doesn't want to talk about any real news stories, and well, you don't want to talk about real news. You don't want to inform people in the mainstream media about what's really happening. And then we get these candidates, these Islamic communist candidates. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. But backpack people like Ro Khanna, by the way. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's all crazy. But Charles, thanks so much for coming on the program tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm sure that tomorrow we're going to have to listen to everybody talk about, oh my God, how did this Muslim get elected? It's going to be like, well, you guys didn't want to talk about the fact that he was a Muslim. You guys wanted
have
to
you
say,
heard of Hasan Piker?
They also didn't want to talk about the fact that he was a Muslim. And I was pressing these people for over a year and a half to talk about the fact that Abdul's a Muslim, but they wanted to focus on the fact that he's a socialist. He's a socialist. Now, they didn't use the right messaging. They should have talked about how he was trying to Islamify America and talked about all of his Islamic positions. And then maybe we wouldn't have another jihadist nominee on the Democrat ticket that's probably going to beat the Republican. I mean, I hate to say it, but he probably will end up beating Mike Rogers, you know? He probably will.
I think we're gonna get a good debating with Abdul. We'll see what happens. I told you I got my white V-neck. Like I really did buy a white V-neck today. Him running around in that black V-neck inspired me. I got a white one. I do intend to go to Michigan sometime in October.
I don't know, unless Mike Rogers actually comes out on the record and starts talking about the Islamic takeover of his state. I don't really see how we're going to beat this back. But Charles, I know people follow you on X at the Charles Downs. Any last words? Anything you want to say?
Oh yeah, just stay tuned, everyone. It's gonna get interesting. It's really time to hold the Democrats accountable now. That's what we're gonna do.
That's what we do. We're going to hold the GOP accountable too. We're going to try to force them into addressing the Islamic takeover of America.
Oh yeah.
I think that I think we're going to have to start questioning Republicans up on the Hill again too, not just Democrats. I think that we're going to actually need to really aggressively start questioning Republicans this week and really till November about why they refuse to talk about the Islamic takeover of America. But with that, Charles, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Laura.
Yeah. Thank you. All righty. Well, that's a wrap for tonight. Wish I had something positive to say, but sadly, this Islamic takeover of our country is not going to bring anything positive anytime soon. So get ready to be gaslit tomorrow. Get ready for all the Republicans to pretend like they had no idea how this happened. They're going to say he's the new Mamdani, the Mamdani of Michigan. How did this happen? Well, we know how it happened because the Republicans don't want to aggressively come out against Islam. We have a DHS secretary, Mark Wayne Muslim, who doesn't want to deport Muslims. We have a Republican administration that, for some reason, and I love the president, but they're a lot less aggressive on Islam and Islamic immigration than they were during the first Trump administration. I don't know why that is. But, you know, we're certainly not seeing the rhetoric like we saw during the first term about cracking down on Islam and having a Muslim ban. We're not getting any of that. So just, you know, you can't combat these people. It's a militant force. It's a cancer. It's literally a ideological cancer in our society, these Islamic cancer. And there's only one way to get rid of cancer. And people just have to come to terms with that. There's only one way to get rid of cancer, and it's time for the Republicans to make some tough decisions. So we'll see if they're up for it. We'll see if the Republicans have the stomach to do what actually needs to be done to get these people out of our country. But with that, thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's episode of Loomer Unleashed. I hope you found it informative. I hope you found it to be educational. Be sure you're following me on X at Laura Loomer, on X at Loomer Unleashed. And be sure you're following me on Rumble, rumble.com/Laura Loomer. With that, thanks so much for tuning in tonight, and I will see you in a couple days for another episode of Loomer Unleashed. Have a great evening.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist, by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men acted like Laura Loomer, our problems will be fixed in about 5 minutes.
Chained herself to
She
Twitter.
chained herself.